Chapter 296. The next day, Tang Zheng wore a tailored suit and stood in front of the Ye family. Feng Xinyang specially asked someone to tailor the suit for him. Feng Xinyang looked him up and down and clicked her tongue in praise. Not bad, you are indeed becoming more and more handsome. When you stand together with our family's ding-dang, you are a perfect match. After Yi Ding-dang declared her pursuit to Tang Zheng, she became natural and unrestrained, without the slightest bit of the affectation of a little girl. Hearing her mother's praise, she nodded in agreement. Not bad indeed, much more handsome than usual. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and of course, Panin is also in the eye of the beholder. Now, Yi Ding-dang was looking at Tang Zheng more and more pleasing to the eye. Tang Zheng felt a little happy in his heart. Even though he did not sleep well last night because of Yi Ding-dong's meddling, he was still full of energy with the divine technique protecting his body. Let's go, let's go, Yi Tianlei said. The few of them sat in a long luxury car with a special driver, and then went straight to the destination of today's banquet, Longxiang Mountain. This was a small mountain in the suburbs of Beijing. It was not very big and was not open to the public. It was the private place of the Yan family. The autumn air was cool, the dust was dyed, and the mountain was covered in red. The luxury car drove on the wide mountain road, giving people a feeling of strolling children. Beautiful. At the end of the mountain road was a big iron gate. The iron gate was carved with exquisite patterns, like a work of art. On both sides of the iron gate were two huge stone lions, tall and mighty, showing the imposing manner of this family. Tang Zheng could not help but sigh. This was the real feeling of a family, making people feel awe. On both sides of the gate, there were two rows of people welcoming the guests. One row of men, with an imposing appearance, and the other row of women, with a beautiful appearance. If Yi Tianlei had not introduced them as servants, Tang Zheng would have thought that they were the young master and daughter of the Yan family. Tang Zheng was secretly shocked. The background of this kind of big family was really incomparable. There were so many people who became rich overnight, but they were only the nouveau riche. Compared to this kind of big family with 100 years of history, it was like the difference between a firefly and the sun. Compared to the Yan family, the Ye family seemed to be dwarfed. Yi Tianlei seemed to have seen through Tang Zheng's thoughts and explained, the Yan family is the most powerful of the four big families in Beijing. They have two masters. Two masters? Tang Zheng was shocked. Yes, the other families only have one master. The Ye family also only has one master after the old man broke through. But the Yan family is different. Not only is the old man of the Yan family behind the scenes a master, even the current head of the family, Yan Qishan, has also broken through to the master realm. So powerful, then how old is this Yan Qishan? Tang Zheng curiously asked. Next year he will be 50. Yi Tianlei said as he stretched out 5 fingers. He is only 40 years old and he has already reached the master realm? Tang Zheng was shocked. The master realm was not like the Xiantian masters who could easily break through as long as they accumulated enough strength. Instead, it required luck. Yi Xuanji had accumulated strength for dozens of years and barely touched the door of the master realm. But in the end, because he did not have any luck, he fell short of success. If not for Tang Zheng using the life-continuing pill to save him, he would have already become a soul. Yi Tianlei helplessly smiled bitterly and said, yes, it is unimaginable, but Yan Qishan did it. Like father like son. His son, Yan Luyun, is the head of the 4 young masters of Beijing. He is only 20 years old, but he has already touched the door of the Xiantian realm. Xiantian realm. Tang Zheng's head moved and he could not help but think of Wu. She was from the martial organization and was only 20 years old, but she had already reached the Xiantian realm. So compared to her, Yan Luyun was slightly inferior. What he did not know was that Yan Luyun was not like Wu, who did not have anything to do every day. The only thing he did was to cultivate. Yan Luyun was in such a large family. He had many businesses to manage and many social events. Since he was young, he did not have much time to cultivate. But he had already reached the Xiantian realm. This was enough to show how high his martial arts talent was. Today you will definitely see Yan Luyun. You are all young people, so you should interact with him more. Yi Tianlei warned. Yes, Uncle Yi. I will act according to the circumstances. Tang Zheng replied in a deep voice. Don't be so rigid. Yan Luyun only has 2 eyes and 1 mouth. There is nothing strange about it. Yi Dingdang curled her lips and said disapprovingly. Feng Xinyang advised, Dingdang, in the past you were outstanding in the ordinary balance. But in the capital, there are many crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Your ability is not that great. If you do not work harder in the future, you will be left behind even further. I have the Jade Women's Heart Sutra, so I am not worried. I believe that I will definitely be able to catch up to him. Yi Dingdang waved her fist and said confidently. Feng Xinyang praised. You are truly worthy of being my, Feng Xinyang's, daughter. You should have this kind of drive. Moreover, I believe that Tang Zhang will definitely surpass Yen Lu Yun in the future. Yi Dingdang did not forget to add. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang looked at Tang Zhang and imagined his terrifying cultivation speed. It was indeed very possible for him to surpass Yen Lu Yun. The Ye family's car did not stop at the entrance. Instead, it drove into the large villa and finally stopped in front of an ancient wooden building. This wooden building was grand and imposing. It had already been there for many years. There were many people standing in front of the building. Tang Zhang immediately saw two people among them. These two people had similar eyebrows. They both had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. They looked very talented. However, one was a mature middle-aged man and the other was a 20-year-old youth. Those two are Yan Qishan and Yen Lu Yun? Tang Zhang asked curiously. It is this pair of father and son. Yi Tianlei lightly said. Then the driver ran out of the car and opened the door. The four of them got out of the car. The beautiful scenery in front of them entered their eyes. This villa was a combination of the mountain and the manor. It was definitely the work of a master architect. However, this grand and imposing villa was not as attractive as this pair of father and son in front of them. Yan Qishan laughed loudly. He quickly walked towards Yi Tianlei and said, Tianlei, it has been many years since we last met. The two of them shook hands, appearing very intimate. Yi Tianlei also laughed. Yes, Qishan, it has been almost 20 years since we last met. Time passes so quickly. However, back then, I believed that you would definitely return. Because, in the end you still belong to the capital. Yan Qishan's voice became deep as he spoke from the bottom of his heart. Yi Tianlei was a bit emotional. He said, Thank you. Back then these two were very close. However, after Yi Tianlei was banished to ordinary balance by the Ye family, their relationship gradually weakened. Now that they met with old friends, they naturally felt very close. In the blink of an eye, so many years have passed. We are all old. Now it is the world of the young. This is my family's kid. When you left back then, he was just starting to walk. Yan Qishan patted Yen Liu Yun's shoulder and introduced him. Yi Tianlei looked at Yen Lu Yun with a smile. He said, You really are a talent. The little mischievous boy from back then has already grown up. Uncle Yi, in the future, I will have to ask you to give your nephew a few pointers. Yen Lu Yun said humbly. Yi Tianlei shook his head and said, Lu Yun, I do not dare to give you pointers. In these years, your reputation has become more and more famous. Everyone has seen it. Even I, as your uncle, am ashamed of my inferiority. Uncle Yi is too kind. Your nephew still has many areas that require Uncle Ye's pointers. This must be Dingdang. She is already so old. I heard that she is now studying at Yenqing University. Yan Qishan's gaze landed on Yi Dingdang. Feng Xinyang, Dingdang has inherited your beauty. In a few years, she will definitely become the most beautiful girl in the capital. Feng Xinyang smiled faintly. Qishan, you flatter me. This girl is very mischievous. She always causes trouble for me. It is a good thing that young people are energetic. If they were as dull as us old fellows, then life would be truly boring. Yan Qishan said. Yen Lu Yun also looked at Yi Dingdang. He did not hide the admiration in his eyes. However, his eyes were filled with pure admiration and praise. There were no messy desires. Dingdang is also studying at Yenqing University? Then I can be considered your senior. I graduated from Yenqing University 5 years ago. Yen Lu Yun said with a smile. Yi Dingdang obediently opened her eyes wide. She said in surprise, Senior must have dominated Yenqing University back then. Haha, I was young and impetuous. I was just fooling around. This is. In the end, Yan Qishan placed his attention on Tang Zheng. If it was not for the fact that he was dressed differently, others would have thought that he was a follower of the Ye family. The main reason was that his aura was too ordinary. He did not have the valiant and domineering aura. He was so ordinary that it was easy for people to overlook his existence. This was done on purpose by Tang Zheng. Today, there were many experts gathered. It was better to keep a low profile. Moreover, others could not see through his cultivation. He really was like an ordinary person. This is Ding Dong's fiancé, Tang Zheng. Yi Tianlei introduced. Since this time, Tang Zheng appeared as Yi Dingdong's fiancé. Of course he would not hide anything. Instead, he introduced him generously. "Oh, it's you." The father and son of the Yan family were both a little surprised. They couldn't help but size up Tang Zheng carefully. Yan Qishan was extremely shocked and thought to himself, "I actually can't see through his cultivation. He must have some secret technique to intentionally hide it. He killed the Chu family's raging inferno yesterday, so he is at least a pre-celestial stage expert." Tisk, interesting, the Ye family actually found such a powerful son-in-law. Yan Liuyun's shock was no less than his father's. After he heard about the death of the raging inferno yesterday, he was both surprised and suspicious. He was only at the 9th stage of the post-celestial stage, and could already be considered the most powerful person in the younger generation of the various large families in the capital. However, an even more monstrous person suddenly appeared, causing him to be unable to help but look at him in a different light. "Tianlei, you've really found a good son-in-law. In just a day, his name has already spread throughout the capital. Who knows how many people are asking about him?" Yan Qishan sighed. Yi Tianlei said in a deep voice, "This time, we really had no choice. If it wasn't for that brat from the Yan family forcing us, little Tang wouldn't have killed Raging Inferno." "Haha, so what if he's killed? What's there to be surprised about?" Yan Qishan said without a care. "This is called the Yangtze River. The waves behind drive the waves before, and the waves in front die on the beach. Your son-in-law's waves are really fierce. Lu Yun, look at Tang Zheng, he's not surprised by anything. This is the true demeanor. Learn more from him in the future." Yan Lu Yun was not angry at his father's words in the slightest. Instead, he looked convinced and nodded. "Father is right, Tang Zheng. In the future, we will all be in the capital. Please give us more advice." Tang Zheng had been observing this father and son pair the entire time. From their words and actions, he could tell that they were really well educated and could not find a single flaw in them. After hearing Yan Liuyun's humble words, he said without batting an eyelid, "The two of you are too kind. I was just lucky by chance. I am far from being able to compare to young Master Yan. Calling me young Master Yan is too distant. I'm a few years older than you. If you don't mind, calling me Big Brother Yan is what I like to hear the most." Yan Luyun said straightforwardly. That kind of cordiality made people feel as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. "Right, the two of you should get closer," Yan Qishan warned. Chapter 297. After exchanging greetings for a while, Tang Zheng addressed him as Big Brother Yan. One had to know that this form of address was enough to make many people envious. Because this meant that Tang Zheng had entered the eyes of the Yan family. For someone who had just arrived in the capital, this was very difficult to come by. Yan Lu Yun accompanied the few people into the wooden building. There were already many guests inside. Not only were there business people here, but there were also people from the political world. Tang Zheng saw a few big shots who often appeared on TV. Obviously, the level of this circle was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. However, Tang Zheng's state of mind was very calm. There was not the slightest ripple. No matter how much money or power the other party had, to him, there was not much difference between them and a passerby. Yan Lu Yun had been observing Tang Zheng. He saw that his expression did not change. It was as if he was a person who was used to dealing with this kind of situation. However, he knew that Tang Zheng's previous identity was actually very simple. He did not have the experience to deal with this kind of situation. This was enough to show that he was not simple. This brother Tang is really not ordinary. Yan Lu Yun sighed with emotion. There is such a powerful person in the capital, and he is the son-in-law of the Ye family. The days ahead will definitely be more and more exciting. When the others saw Yan Luyun personally accompanying the few people into the building, they were very surprised. Many people who did not know Yi Tianlei guessed who they were. They actually had the Yan family's young master personally accompany them. After all, Yi Tianlei had been away from the capital for too many years. Although he had appeared in a few occasions in the past few months, it did not mean that everyone knew him. Everyone whispered. After a while, they figured out Yi Tianlei's identity. Suddenly, they realized that the Ye family had arrived. But when they thought of the rumors from back then, everyone's thoughts started to turn. Although it seemed that Yi Tianlei and Yan Qishan were having a good chat and were very close friends when they were young, the Yan and Yi families were not as friendly and harmonious as they seemed on the surface. The Yan family was powerful, and their development in the past few years was even more rapid. On the other hand, the Ye family was gradually going downhill. If Yi Xuanji did not break through to the master level, then the Yan family would definitely not let go of the Ye family, this fat piece of meat. Because if this piece of meat was given to another family, that family's strength would increase greatly, and it would threaten the Yan family's ruling position. This was also the reason why Yi Xuanji did not hesitate to ally with the Song family through marriage. It was to resist the possible actions of the Yan family. However, this time, Yi Xuanji had mysteriously reached the master level, so the Yan family's strategy to deal with the Ye family had changed. This time, it was the Yan family's grandfather's birthday. The Yan family even personally sent an invitation to the Ye family. Yi Xuanji understood the reason very well. The Yan family wanted to use this birthday to ease the conflict between them and the Ye family. Yi Xuanji did not object, and even sent Yi Tianlei to personally attend. This already explained his intentions. The two families were still in a competitive relationship, but because of Yi Xuanji's breakthrough, it was no longer a life-and-death situation, but a delicate balance. Those who were observant naturally figured out the intention of this, and could not help but think in their hearts. If the conflict between the Ye family and the Yan family was eased, then their relationship with the Song family would definitely become tense. And where would the Chu family, who had always been on good terms with the Yan family, go? In fact, the Chu family's strength was on par with the Ye family. In the past, it was because of their close relationship with the Yan family that no one could shake the Chu family's position. This time, the Ye family's performance was so eye-catching, and the Ye family's son-in-law even killed a Xiantian master of the Chu family. How would the Ye family and the Chu family end? Everyone looked like they were waiting to watch a good show, especially many of their gazes landed on Tang Zheng. Because Tang Zheng's identity was already obvious, everyone was sizing up this future son-in-law of the Ye family. Where did this kid come from? How could he be so ridiculously powerful? Yi Tianlei did not stay idle either. He brought the Ye family and introduced them to a few people who were on good terms with the Ye family. Tang Zheng undoubtedly became the focus of attention. Seeing that he handled things with ease and was neither servile nor overbearing, everyone secretly nodded. The son-in-law chosen by the Ye family was really a dragon among men. It was really strange that they had never heard of him before. After a while, a few more people came in through the door. Everyone hurriedly looked over and greeted them. Yan Luyun also quickly stepped forward to welcome them. "Uncle Song, please come in." The people who came in were from the Song family of the four great families. Two of them happened to be acquaintances of Tang Zheng, Song Yu and Qin Lao. Yi Tianlei also saw the people of the Song family. He walked over to them unhurriedly. Although there was a rift between the Song family and the Yi family because of the marriage, they were still relatively close on the surface. "Han Jun!" Yi Tianlei called out loudly. The leader of the Song family, Song Yu's father, Song Hanjun, replied to Yi Tianlei, "Tianlei, you came earlier than me." This sentence had a deep meaning. It seemed to be saying that the Ye family was preparing to get closer to the Yan family. Yi Tianlei heard the implied meaning, but did not directly respond. Instead, he smiled and said, "The air in the city is not good. The Longxiang mountain is high and the air is fresh, so I came out early to breathe in the fresh air." Song Hanjun smiled meaningfully. His gaze fell on Tang Zheng and said, "Presumably, this is the son-in-law you chose? Humph, he is really a talent." This sentence was obviously sarcastic. No matter how Tang Zheng dressed up, in terms of appearance, he was indeed not Song Yu's opponent. The Ye family chose Tang Zheng and gave up Song Yu. How could Song Hanjun not be angry about this? Perhaps he was one of the people present who hated Tang Zhang the most. However, as an elder, if he were to target a younger generation, then he would appear to be too inferior. Han Jun has discerning eyes. This is indeed Ding Dong's fiancé. Yi Tianlei acted as if he did not hear the ridicule and said naturally and generously. Feng Xinyang's eyebrows jumped, but he did not act out. Tang Zhang was indeed the calmest. He would not be affected by the other's words. Suddenly, a soft little hand appeared in his hand. Yi Dingdang actually held his hand, as if announcing their relationship to Song Yu. Song Yu looked at the two's tightly clasped hands and said meaningfully, Tang Zheng, when I first saw you at Ordinary Balance's residence, I knew you were not an ordinary person. You really gave me a big surprise. When he was at Ordinary Balance, Song Yu could be sure that Yi Dingdang and Tang Zheng's so-called relationship was just a deal with him. There was actually not much of a real relationship between the two. However, it was different now. Since the Ye family had announced it, then even if there was no relationship between the two, there would still be a relationship. Therefore he, Song Yu, was really defeated by Tang Zheng. In fact, from the beginning, Song Yu did not have strong feelings for Yi Dingdang. He knew that his marriage would definitely be arranged by his family since he was young, so he did not reject the marriage with Yi Dingdang. After he met Yi Dingdang, unknowingly, he actually began to admire and like her. After he left Ordinary Balance, this feeling was abnormally strong. However, Yi Xuanji later cancelled the engagement, which made him draw water with a bamboo basket. This shattered his beautiful dream. In fact, if it was not for the Ye family announcing Tang Zheng's identity, Song Yu would not have much hostility towards Tang Zheng. After all, Song Yu could be sure that the relationship between the two was just a joke when he was at Ordinary Balance. However, this time it was real, which meant that he was defeated by Tang Zheng. This made him, the young master of the Song family, shocked and angry. In the past few days, he had already heard a lot of rumors. After all, Song Yu was defeated by an unknown Tang Zheng. This kind of thing was too worth gossiping about. Some of the playboys who did not have a good relationship with Song Yu were even fanning the flames to ridicule him, making Song Yu hold back a burst of anger in his heart. He could not help but regret. When he was at Ordinary Balance, Qin Lao had proposed to deal with Tang Zheng, but he had rejected it. He thought that Tang Zheng was insignificant, and had even thought of taking Tang Zheng under his wing, so he showed goodwill in Ordinary Balance's courtyard. He never thought that things would turn out like this. Perhaps if time went back, he would have made a different decision. Song Yu's heart flashed with many complicated thoughts, but his expression did not change. Instead, he looked at Tang Zheng with a faint smile. Tang Zheng calmly said, I still have to thank young Master Song for choosing the jade for me. It's nothing. Do you know what I like the most? I like to see a piece of unpolished jade shine with extraordinary splendor after being carved. In this world, unpolished jade is extremely rare, and those that can shine with extraordinary splendor are even rarer. But in the end, those that can truly withstand the test of time and wind and frost are few and far between. Those so-called unpolished jade that disappear in the long river of history only have an instant of youthful splendor before being forgotten. Song Yu lightly said. But these words were too meaningful. Everyone here was smart, so they immediately understood the meaning behind these words. It seemed that the father and son of the Song family liked this kind of thing. Tang Zheng faintly smiled. Of course, he understood that the so-called unpolished jade was him. Song Yu was saying that he, this piece of unpolished jade, would be thrown into the smelly ditch of history. Only Song Yu would leave his name in history. Hey! Tang Zheng originally had a good impression of Song Yu, but after hearing these words, the good impression disappeared. He said, Young Master Song's words are very true, but I have always thought that jade is too delicate and can't withstand the wind and rain. But no matter the wind and rain, a stone can stand without falling. So I like stone more. In fact, I am also like a stone. Tang Zheng's counterattack was very simple. It made everyone's eyes light up, but it made Song Yu immediately frown. It also made Song Hanjuan's eyes reveal a murderous intent. In particular, Qin Lao's eyes turned cold, like a sharp sword light shooting out. If it wasn't for the fact that this was the Yen family, he would have already made a move. When Qin Lao saw Tang Zheng's heaven-flying immortal swordsmanship in Ordinary Balance, he was shocked. He guessed that there must be a swordsman master behind Tang Zheng. This master could even be compared to the sword god, so he was worried that such an expert would be disadvantageous to Song Yu. So he left ordinary balance with Song Yu that night. Later on, he had searched everywhere to see if there was such a swordsman master, but he didn't find any clues at all. Moreover, there was no doubt that Tang Zheng was not the successor of the sword god, so his origin was especially mysterious. Originally, he thought that he wouldn't have any contact with Tang Zheng, but this time, Tang Zheng actually came to Beijing and humiliated Song Yu in front of everyone in Beijing. This made Qin Lao very angry. He couldn't wait to take Tang Zheng's life. The atmosphere became very delicate. Tang Zheng and Song Yu looked at each other. Yi Dingdang held Tang Zheng's hand tightly. She knew that she had pushed Tang Zheng into this whirlpool, so she could only hold his hand and give him strength. However, she was full of confidence in Tang Zheng. No matter how big the danger was, she believed that Tang Zheng could deal with it. Everyone looked at this scene at the same time. As the saying goes, when love rivals meet, their eyes turn red. These two love rivals' words were full of sarcasm. How were they going to end this? Whoosh! Chapter 298. This palm was out of everyone's expectations. No one would have thought that there would be someone who would dare to make a move in the Yen family. One had to know that this was the birthday of the Yen family's old man. Therefore, when the palm arrived in front of Tang Zheng, the others finally reacted. However, Tang Zheng's reaction was very fast. Although he was in the Yen family, he still maintained sufficient vigilance. Thus, he quickly extended his palm, channeled all of his innate qi into his palm, and fiercely swung it out. Bang! A thunderous sound rang out as Tang Zheng was sent flying backwards. Luckily, Yi Tianlei's reaction was not slow as he quickly blocked Tang Zheng's back. Both of his palms pressed against Tang Zheng's back, stopping him from retreating. Puff! A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Tang Zheng's mouth, and pain flashed across his eyes. This attack was truly unbearable, causing his mind to tremble, his innate qi to churn, especially his pure yang energy, which was even more violent, as if a volcano was about to erupt. He furiously looked at the person who had launched the sneak attack. It was a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looked dignified without being angry, and it was obvious that he had an extraordinary status. In her eyes, Feng Xinyang was plain and unremarkable, as if she was born with this knowledge. Many things that ordinary people thought were complicated were very simple in her eyes. She was a genius, but this genius found that she could not understand Tang Zheng at all. This was 10 times, something that would never happen to other people. Even if her father had a high position, she could still see through him. This meant that Tang Zheng was even more mysterious than Yen Patian. In fact, it was precisely because she was too smart that she had seen through this world that she felt that this world was boring. That was why she had resolutely decided to become a monk. Hearing Yen Potion's advice, Tang Zheng's expression did not change much, and said calmly, "Thank you for Elder Yan's good intentions, but I have already made up my mind, and will not change it." The King of Medicine shook his head and laughed bitterly. "Little friend Tang Zheng and I do not have the fate of being master and disciple, but to be able to meet you in this life and see some miracles that I have never thought of, I have no regrets in this life." Miracle? What miracle? Everyone was very curious, but if the King of Medicine did not say anything, no one would ask. Even though Yen Patian had a stomach full of questions, he did not ask. Yi Tianlei's family looked at each other. Of course they knew that miracle. It was the miracle created by the life-continuing pill. However, Tang Zheng had agreed beforehand that the person involved could not reveal this matter to others, so it was inconvenient for them to announce it to the public. However, without a doubt, due to the appearance of the Medicine King, the mysterious halo around Tang Zheng's body had increased by a few points. Without a doubt, he had become the focus of attention today, and even Yen Patian, the old man, was probably inferior to him. Tang Zheng's appearance this time was extremely successful, almost blinding everyone's eyes. Chapter 299. Tang Zheng's stunning appearance overshadowed the light of the rest of the people from the Chu family, especially the people from the Chu family, who were extremely jealous. When the old man returned to his seat, Yen Luyun could not help but pat Tang Zheng's shoulder and praised, "Brother Tang, you're really something. You actually have so many abilities. Even Senior King of Medicine praises you so much." Tang Zheng smiled faintly. "My reputation can't compare to Big Brother Yan's. I've made a fool of myself." I don't dare to laugh. Haha, with a person like you in the capital, it will definitely be even more interesting. Yen Luyun said meaningfully. The others looked at Yi Tianlei enviously. Where did they find such a son-in-law? He was too awesome. These people really wanted to marry their daughters to Tang Zheng. Chu Mingxian snorted coldly from not far away. His sudden attack just now made old man Yen say a few words, but he did not continue to blame him. After all, the relationship between the Yen and Chu families was not ordinary, and Chu Mingxian relied on this to act so recklessly. At the start of the birthday banquet, all of the guests presented their own gifts, all of which were treasures, but Yen Patian only nodded his head lightly, and did not care much about these precious items. Elder Yen, today is your birthday, and what you usually like the most is martial arts. Why don't we invite a few juniors to spar with each other, and then cheer Elder Yen up? We can also ask Elder Yen to give us a few pointers. Suddenly, Chu Mingxian suggested loudly. Yen Patian was originally whispering to Yen Qingyi, but when he heard this, he couldn't help but raise his head and look at Chu Mingxian in astonishment. Chu Mingxuan's eyes were burning, faintly jumping with excitement. Song Hanjun smiled faintly, and said, Mingxuan's suggestion is not bad. Most of the people here today are martial warriors. Using this method to celebrate Elder Yan's birthday is the best way. Song Hanjun and Chu Mingxian looked at each other and smiled. Yen Patian seemed to be deep in thought as he nodded his head. All right, the waves behind the Yangtze River will push the waves before. The young elites today are better than the previous year, and I also like to watch the competition between the young elites the most. The young elites are the backbone of the next generation. Immediately, everyone's gazes locked onto Tang Zheng at the same time. Chu Mingxian and Song Hanjuan's words seemed to be pointing at something. They were probably here for Tang Zheng. They were so insidious. Obviously, they were doing what Senior Yen liked, pushing Tang Zheng into the fire pit. Yi Dingdang clenched Tang Zheng's hand tightly and said indignantly, They are too despicable. Are they trying to gang up on Tang Zheng again? Feng Xinyang's face was also full of indignation. Apparently, she had seen through the other party's intentions. She said, Dingdang, don't worry. No one will be able to hurt the little handsome brother. Yen Patian glanced at Yen Luyun and said, Then let's let our family's Luyun throw a brick to attract jade first. Yen Luyun took a step forward and cupped his hands towards everyone. Since grandfather has given this order, then I will respectfully accept it. I will take this opportunity to wish grandfather a happy birthday. I wish grandfather a happy life like the East Sea and a long life like the South Mountain. Yen Patian nodded kindly. I wonder which young hero is willing to fight with Lu Yun? Everyone was silent. Yen Lu Yun was one of the 4 young masters of the capital, and everyone knew that he had the highest cultivation in his entire life. Ordinary people would not dare to challenge him. I'll do it. Suddenly, a young man stood out. This person had a resolute expression, and with a single glance, it was obvious that he was not an ordinary hedonistic son of rich parents. Brother Yen, you have to be lenient. Don't overdo it. The young man said. Yen Luyun laughed out loud. This is just a spar. Without wasting any time, the two of them collided with each other. Yen Liuyun's martial arts were extremely ferocious and overbearing, and the challenger was not weak either. The two of them jumped up and down, and it was difficult to determine who would win. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted. This Yen Luyun was indeed not an ordinary person. His power was far above Tang Zheng's. This Yen family's inheritance was really good. The entire family was actually martial arts experts. The two sides fought to their heart's content for hundreds of moves. Suddenly, Yen Liuyun's elbow struck the challenger's chest fiercely. Whiz! The challenger directly flew out and landed steadily on the ground. He did not vomit blood, but instead laid on the ground in a slightly sorry state. The outcome had already been decided. Yen Luyun was strong, and this challenger had been completely defeated. Pa pa pa! Warm applause rang out non-stop. Someone praised. Young Master Yen is indeed extraordinary. This series of attacks is truly too domineering. Following that, a few more young martial warriors went up to the stage to fight. The atmosphere was extremely intense, causing the birthday banquet to have an additional valiant wind, but it caused Yen Patian to beam. Suddenly, Chu Mingxian said loudly, Everyone's battles are very exciting. After a few decades, all of us will no longer be here, and this world will be yours. However, There is still a young expert who has not gone up on stage today. Tang Zheng, you won't be a coward, right? Shua. Everyone's gaze was attracted to Tang Zheng. Their expressions were a little strange. Chu Mingxian had really spared no effort, his sneak attack just now had failed, and now he was actually encouraging him to participate in this kind of arena competition. It was obvious that he did not want to let Tang Zheng have an easy time. Yi Dingdang could not help but fly into a rage, and said furiously, "What do you mean? Are you still not satisfied with the sneak attack on Tang Zheng just now?" The corner of Chu Mingxuan's mouth raised, and he said, "Just now I was not sneak attacking, but testing his skills. After testing him, I realized that he was truly unfathomable. Wouldn't it be a waste if such an expert did not let everyone broaden their horizons? Moreover, the others were all on stage, and he was the only one who was not on stage. Could it be that he was not sincerely wishing Elder Yen well? You don't even agree to this small request." He was too vicious to actually use such words to force Tang Zheng. "Humph. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. We won't fall for your trap," Yi Dingdang said straightforwardly. Chu Mingxian knowingly asked, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." "Tang Zheng, it can't be that you don't want to fight, right? If you're afraid, just say it." "Are you afraid? I still don't know how to write this word." Tang Zheng took a step forward and said fearlessly, "Tang Zheng, don't be rash. You took his palm strike just now and were injured. It's not suitable for you to continue fighting," Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang hurriedly advised. However, Tang Zheng was unmoved. His situation was indeed not optimistic. Although he had temporarily suppressed the restless pure yang energy, if he were to make a move now, he could not guarantee that the pure yang energy would not rebound. However, he could not swallow this anger. After being forced to this extent, if he continued to be a coward, wouldn't he be scolded to death? Seeing that, the others all shook their heads. Tang Zheng was still too impulsive, and had fallen for the other party's provocation. Yan Qingyi's eyes lit up, and said in a low voice, "I'm really looking forward to him making a move." Yan Patian laughed. "I'm also looking forward to it. This young man is too mysterious. I can also see from him which sect he comes from." This was one of the reasons why Yan Patian agreed to Chu Mingxuan's request. Yan Patian boasted that his martial arts had reached perfection, but this time, he discovered that he could not even see through the cultivation of a junior. This made him feel unconvinced, and he could use this opportunity to investigate. He wanted to see who exactly taught such a mysterious disciple. King of Medicine revealed a worried expression, and said, "Little friend Tang Zheng just suffered an internal injury, and now that you're making a move, it's not appropriate." Yan Patian comforted him. "Don't worry, with so many of us here, your precious disciple will not be in any danger." King of Medicine laughed bitterly. "He didn't agree to be my disciple. This kid is really confused." Yan Patian shook his head and sighed. Yan Qingyi's bright eyes were already fixed on Tang Zheng's body. He walked to the empty space in the center of the hall and stared at Chu Mingxian. "Chu Xiaofan did not come. Could it be that you want to go on stage yourself today?" "That's right. Didn't you sneak attack him just now? This time, it doesn't seem impossible for the big to bully the small again." "He dares!" Yi Tianlei shouted angrily. Chu Mingxian laughed coldly. "Of course it's not me. Since it's a young elite, then it's naturally a competition between juniors. Xiaohan, since Tang Zheng is so powerful, then go and ask him for some pointers." "Yes, uncle." A person stood out from behind Chu Mingxian. Just now, this person had been standing behind Chu Mingxian, causing people to almost ignore his existence. "Chu Xiaohui!" Everyone exclaimed. "It's actually him. This time, Tang Zheng will be very troublesome." That's right, Chu Xiaohui is a 9th stage post-celestial stage cultivator. He is slightly weaker than Yen Luyun. Tang Zheng is so young. He is definitely not his match. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Chu Mingxian explained, "Everyone, don't underestimate Tang Zheng. Raging Inferno is a first-grade pre-celestial stage. Didn't he also die in Tang Zheng's hands? Xiaohui is a 9th stage post-celestial stage, far inferior to Tang Zheng. I just want him to give me a few pointers." Chu Mingxuan's words were dignified, but in reality, he was hiding evil intentions. Just now, when he exchanged a palm strike with Tang Zheng, he had already roughly guessed Tang Zheng's cultivation. He was definitely not a pre-celestial expert like the legend said, and being able to kill Raging Inferno was definitely just a coincidence. Just now, he had injured him, and now that he had called Chu Xiaohui, who was at the 9th stage of the post-celestial stage, to fight, he believed that victory was in the bag. If he could accidentally kill Tang Zheng in the battle later on, that would be too wonderful. Even if he couldn't kill Tang Zheng, being able to make him lose face could be considered as regaining face for the Chu clan. Chu Mingxian used his bitter conscience, while the people of the Song family opened their eyes wide, preparing to watch a good show. Qin Lao whispered into Song Yu's ear, "Young master, Tang Zheng is injured, he is definitely not Chu Xiaohui's match. This time, he is going to make a fool of himself." Song Yu's mouth flashed with a cold smile, but he did not say a word. Yi Dingdang could not help but shout, "You guys are too much if you have the ability. Wait until Tang Zheng recovers from his injuries before fighting. What kind of ability is bullying others like this?" Hearing that, Chu Mingxian did not move at all. It's not old Master Yan's birthday in the future, time waits for no one. "Tang Zheng, don't fight with him. This kind of person is shameless." Yi Dingdang advised Tang Zheng. "Not fighting? How could that be?" Tang Zheng did not want to escape, and said, "All right, then bring it on, let's see who wins and who loses." Chu Mingxian gave Chu Xiaohui a look. Chu Xiaohui understood, his face darkened, and cupped his hands. "Then please enlighten me." Whiz. Chapter 300. Tang Zheng opened his 10 fingers like a claw, grabbing towards Chu Xiaohui's ankle. Suddenly, Chu Xiaohui's leg suddenly changed the direction of his attack, and instead of sweeping towards the top of Tang Zheng's head, it swept towards his waist. The change of moves was so fast that Tang Zheng was unable to defend against it. Tang Zheng was shocked, and reacted accordingly, but it was already too late. With a muffled bang, Tang Zheng's waist was ruthlessly struck by the whip kick. Tang Zheng immediately fell to the side. Luckily he used his palm to support himself on the floor, he did not fall to the ground. In that instant, the opponent's attack arrived again, as fast as lightning. Tang Zheng was only at the 4th stage of the foundation establishment stage, and was already a few levels lower than Chu Xiaohui's 9th stage post-celestial stage. Previously, he was also ambushed by Chu Mingxian, and was injured, which made things worse. After eating this kick, he felt that the calm pure yang energy had erupted like a volcano, causing the temperature of his entire body to increase explosively. F***ck. Damn it, I've messed up this time. Without the purine energy to neutralize it, my body will explode and I will die. Tang Zheng thought sorrowfully. Seeing Chu Xiaohui kicking towards him again, the power was obviously even more terrifying than the previous attack. The others were anxious. Could Tang Zheng withstand this kick? Immediately, everyone held their breaths. Yi Dingdong's hands were tightly clenched, and his lips were even bitten to the point of bleeding. However, he was completely unaware of it, and looked at Tang Zheng in a daze. At this time, Tang Zheng could not summon the heaven-shocking bow out of thin air, and could only use his palms to block it. Why did he miss? There was a black figure in front of him, and this figure seemed a little familiar. Bang! With a muffled sound, a person flew out. Ah! Everyone cried out in alarm at the same time. The person who flew out was not Tang Zheng, but Chu Xiaohui, and another black-clothed man appeared in front of everyone. Who is this? This black-clothed man was clearly not one of the original people in the hall, but had suddenly flown in from outside the hall. The Yen family was heavily guarded, yet this person was able to quietly enter this place, indicating that he was definitely an expert. The man in black did not pay attention to the other people's surprise, nor did he have the slightest fear because this was the famous Yen family. Instead, like a whirlwind, he rushed toward Chu Xiaohui. Before Chu Xiaohui could land on the ground, he found that his leg was grabbed by the man in black. He was shocked. Just now, he didn't even see the other party's movements clearly. Then, he felt like he had kicked a metal plate, and was sent flying by a surge of power. At this moment, seeing that one of his legs was caught, he hurriedly used his other leg to perform a chain kick. A series of kicks landed on his opponent's body. Bang bang bang. However, this person was like a boulder. He did not move at all and did not even make a sound. However, Chu Xiaohui saw the fierce light in the other party's eyes and knew that something was wrong. The man in black raised his fist, aimed at the leg he was grabbing, and smashed it down. Kacha! The sound of bones cracking made one's scalp go numb. Chu Xiaohui's eyes widened as he opened his mouth and screamed. Ah, it hurts so much. The others turned pale with fright. Who was this black-clothed man? His attacks were too ruthless. He actually broke Chu Xiaohui's leg in one move. Chu Xiaohui was a 9th stage post-celestial stage martial artist. Could it be that this black-clothed man was a pre-celestial stage martial artist? Chu Mingxuan's expression had already changed. Chu Xiaohui was the one with the highest cultivation in the 3rd generation of monks, but this time, his leg was actually broken by the other party. How could he not be angry? He couldn't help but shout, "Stop!" The black-clothed man acted as if he didn't hear anything. He grabbed the other party's other leg with lightning speed and did the same thing. With a kacha sound, the bone broke, and a piece of white bone even pierced through the skin. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Too ruthless. This person was too ruthless. Whiz! Chu Mingxian finally made his move and rushed towards the black-clothed man, preparing to snatch his nephew back. However, the black-clothed man was even faster than him. With a pull of his arm, Chu Xiaohui was grabbed by the neck and blocked in front of his chest. In order to avoid accidentally injuring Chu Xiaohui, Chu Mingxian had no choice but to stop. The black-clothed man brought the screaming Chu Xiaohui back to Tang Zheng's side, and Tang Zheng finally saw the black-clothed man clearly, and couldn't help but be dumbstruck. Huang Xiang? Tian Chanzi's puppet. How could it be him? Tang Zheng was truly too shocked. Ever since the ordinary balance parted ways, it had already been a few months. He had not contacted Tian Chanzi at all, and he did not know if Tian Chanzi had found any other cultivators. But why would Huang Xiang appear here at this time? The others also looked at Huang Xiang in shock, and even Yen Patian and the King of Medicine stood up at the same time. Yen Patian looked at Huang Xiang suspiciously. This person seemed to be very evil, and was actually an expert of the 1st grade of the pre-celestial stage. The King of Medicine was even more dumbstruck, and could not help but exclaim, "It's him!" He had met Huang Xiang once before. Back then, when Tang Zheng was injured and hospitalized, Huang Xiang went to assassinate Tang Zheng, but was stopped by the King of Medicine. That night's battle was a narrow victory, but from Huang Xiang's actions just now, the King of Medicine could already tell that the other party's cultivation had improved greatly, and was far from what he could contend against. What was going on? Didn't this person want to kill Tang Zheng? Why would he appear here to protect Tang Zheng instead? Hearing the King of Medicine's exclamation, Yen Patian asked curiously, "King of Medicine, do you know him?" "We've met once. It's a long story." The Ye family was not unfamiliar with Huang Xiang at all. They already knew that Huang Xiang had been subdued by Tang Zheng, but they never thought that he would appear in front of the Yen family in such a way. The others did not recognize Huang Xiang, so they all shouted angrily, "Who is this person?" Seeing that everyone was looking at each other in dismay, Chu Mingxian took a step forward and glared at him. "Tang Zheng, is this the helper you invited?" Tang Zheng's entire body was boiling hot, and his face had also turned red, but he did not have much strength to speak. He sneered, and did not comment. "Hurry up and release Xiaohui, or else I'll make sure you won't be able to leave this house today." Chu Mingxian berated sternly. Tang Zheng still did not say a word, but Huang Xiang made a move, and the hand that was grabbing onto Chu Xiaohui's neck suddenly retracted. Everyone's expression changed, and Chu Mingxian shouted in shock, "No!" But it was all too late. Only the crisp sound of bones breaking could be heard. Chu Xiaohui's neck was easily crushed. Chu Xiaohui's head drooped softly like a dead dog as he died. What? The black-clothed man really killed Chu Xiaohui just like that. Although Chu Xiaohui was not Chu Mingxuan's biological son, he was still the most powerful expert in the 3rd generation of the Chu clan. Furthermore, he was not like Chu Xiaofan, who only knew how to play around. He was someone who Chu Mingxian had high hopes for, but he was killed by the black-clothed man in front of everyone's eyes. The black-clothed man did not hesitate in the slightest. Everyone felt that this was simply a dream. This black-clothed man didn't seem to put the famous Chu clan in his eyes at all. Huang Xiang didn't have much of a mind. He was just a killing machine. Even if it was the Heavenly King, he wouldn't put him in his eyes, let alone the Chu clan. Since Chu Xiaohui was dead, Chu Mingxian no longer had any scruples. Furthermore, in his rage, He did not care about anything else. With a roar, he struck Huang Xiang's body with his palm. His speed was too fast. Huang Xiang didn't even have time to dodge, and took the palm strike head-on. Bang! Huang Xiang flew out, fiercely smashing into a pillar, and landed on the ground in a sorry state. Dead. Everyone had doubts in their hearts. After taking such a shocking palm strike from a pre-celestial martial artist, he definitely wouldn't be able to survive, right? Chu Mingxian was very confident that this palm strike was enough to take the other party's life, but he did not stop there. His target was Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng, Xiao Hui is dead. I want you to pay with your life. Chu Mingxian roared. Stop! Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang both moved at the same time. The two of them were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they were already behind Chu Mingxian. Tang Zheng was already dizzy from the pure yang energy, and did not have the strength to resist at all. Seeing Chu Mingxian launch a fatal attack at him, he was powerless to do anything. Damn, Tian Chanzi, are you really going to watch me die? He cursed in his heart. But Tian Chanzi did not appear, because Huang Xiang was blocking in front of him again. But this time, Huang Xiang had also prepared his defense. He kicked towards Chu Mingxuan's chest, causing the air to explode, and the air was compressed to the extreme by this kick. Chu Mingxian turned pale with fright. How could this black-clothed man not die? He was very clear on how powerful his palm strike was. However, at this moment, Chu Mingxian was being attacked from both sides. In front of him was Huang Xiang, and behind him was the Ye family couple. If he was hit, he would probably lose half of his life. Stop! Suddenly, a loud shout rang out, and a huge gust of wind rose up from the ground. Chu Mingxian felt as if he was flying through the clouds, and landed lightly on the ground without any injuries. His original position had become a person. It was not Yan Qishan, but Yan Qishan. Yan Qishan threw out both of his palms, each facing the left and right directions. Bang bang bang. 3 muffled sounds rang out. Yan Qishan did not move at all, while Yi Tianlei and the other two were sent flying, but they were not injured. Obviously, Yan Qishan did not have any intention of hurting anyone. This was the power of the Grandmaster stage. Facing 3 pre-celestial martial artists, he could advance and retreat as he pleased. Stop fighting, Yan Qishan said with a dark face. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang only wanted to save Tang Zheng, and did not want to continue fighting with Yan Qishan. Furthermore, this attack had already made them realize the difference between them. The Yan family had 2 Grandmaster stage experts, and this foundation was indeed something that the other families could not compare to. No wonder they were able to sit firmly on the throne of the 4 great clans. The others could not help but secretly cheer. Today's birthday banquet was truly the right thing to do. There was actually such a wonderful show, and they were lucky enough to see a Grandmaster make a move. However, Chu Mingxian did not rejoice that he had survived a calamity. Instead, he became even more furious and roared, "Elder Yan, everyone has seen everything today. It's not that I'm starting this, but Tang Zheng's accomplice trespassed into the Yan family and even cruelly killed my nephew, Xiao Hui. I must make Tang Zheng and this black-clothed man pay with their lives. If you're dead, then you're dead. You still want people to pay with their lives? Hee, if I kill you, you won't be so noisy anymore?" Suddenly, a light voice came from the roof. Chapter 301. This light voice came from the roof, shocking everyone. There were so many people present, and there were so many experts, yet no one noticed that there was someone above them. Everyone raised their heads at the same time and saw a person sitting on the roof beam, swinging his legs casually. This person had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He had a head full of long black hair as he looked at the people below in ridicule. Yan Patian and Yan Qishan looked at each other. This father and son pair had the highest cultivation out of all of them, and they were even in the martial ancestor realm. However, just like the others, the two of them did not notice any trace of this person. This made them tremble in fear. Where did such an expert come from? Yi Dingdang resisted the overwhelming pure yang energy and raised his head to look. A trace of joy flashed past his eyes. Tian Chanzi, he had actually arrived a long time ago. Tian Chanzi also saw Tang Zheng's gaze, and winked at him, indicating that he should be at ease. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief, But the others held their breaths as they looked at this stranger in bewilderment. Especially Chu Mingxian, when he heard the other party's undisguised provocation. He flew into a rage. Who are you to actually dare to speak such arrogant words? Oh, do you think I can't kill you? Tian Chanzi asked in ridicule. This place is filled with experts. What can you do to me? Moreover, for trespassing into the Yen family, you will definitely die. Chu Mingxian had the support of the Yen family, so he was not afraid at all. Furthermore, this person had barged into the Yen family without permission, which was a great disrespect to the Yen family. Chu Mingxian believed that Yen Patian would definitely not stand by and watch. You dare to question me? You have quite the guts. Moreover, you keep saying that you want to kill Tang Zheng, so I don't mind sending you to your death first. With that said, Tian Chanzi's figure disappeared from the beam, and in the blink of an eye, another person appeared in front of Chu Mingxian. Chu Mingxian wanted to circulate his energy to resist, but he realized that he didn't have much strength to resist. A terrifying aura lingered at the bottom of his heart, causing him to be unable to resist. What's going on? Why do I have such a feeling? He turned pale with fright. There was nowhere to run. When the others saw that Chu Mingxian did not move at all, and did not show any signs of resistance, they were greatly astonished. Was Chu Mingxian stupid? Stop. Suddenly, a heaven-shaking explosive shout sounded out. Yen Patian leaped over everyone's heads and stood in front of Chu Mingxian. Bang! When the two palms collided, Tian Chanzi landed steadily on the ground, but Yen Patian retreated 3 steps and crashed into Chu Mingxian's body, causing him to fall to the ground in a sorry state. Ah! Cries of alarm rose from all directions. Everyone felt that this scene was too inconceivable. Yen Patian, the Grandmaster, had actually taken 3 steps back, but this mysterious person had landed steadily on the ground. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. First, there was a black-clothed man, and now there was this mysterious expert. Where the hell did these monsters come from? Father! Yen Qishan supported Yen Patian with his entire body, and his face also became gloomy. The father and son were both grandmaster martial artists, so they could understand the terror of Tian Chanzi better than anyone else. Tian Chanzi curled his lips carelessly. The so-called 100-year-old family is nothing more than this. When the others heard this, their faces turned pale. This person really dared to boast, and did not put the Yen family in his eyes at all. Chu Mingxian had just survived a calamity, and was filled with lingering fear. He finally understood that he had walked through the gates of hell. Hearing the other party's disdainful words, Chu Mingxian stood up in a sorry state and said, Elder Yen, we absolutely cannot let this person go. Yen Qishan glared at Chu Mingxian. Chu Mingxian's heartstrings trembled, and he immediately shut up. He had never seen such a look in the eyes of the Yen family's father and son, which meant that the threat of this mysterious person was extraordinary. Yen Patian took a step forward, cupped his fists and said, May I ask which expert you are to come to my humble abode? Yen family is honored to have you here. Tian Chanzi chuckled. Don't be hypocritical, I am not interested in Yen family at all. I just heard that someone wanted my disciple's life, so I did not hesitate to make a move. As his master, of course I have to seek justice for my disciple. Disciple? May I know who my disciple is? Yen Patian asked curiously. Tian Chanzi glanced at Tang Zheng and said, Good disciple, quickly come over and let me take a look. I haven't seen you for so many days. I really miss you. Tang Zheng could not help but roll his eyes. Tian Chanzi, this guy, was taking advantage of him again. He did not admit that he was his disciple. However, in order to deceive others, he could not refute him. He could only resentfully walk over. Be good. Call me master. Tian Chanzi laughed sinisterly. Master. Tang Zheng had no choice but to compromise. Tian Chanzi laughed out loud and grabbed Tang Zheng's wrist. He could already feel the surging pure yang energy in his body, and knew what was going on. Looks like the situation is not optimistic. Nonsense. Tian Chanzi did not get angry, but patted his shoulder and said, Don't worry, with your master here, I will definitely help you vent your anger. When the others heard this, they all looked at Chu Mingxian. Without a doubt, these words were directed at Chu Mingxian. Chu Mingxian's face instantly turned pale, and he subconsciously hid behind Yen Patian. Am I Tang Zheng's master? Yen Patian asked in surprise. Of course, the guy behind you wants to deal with my disciple. Move aside. I want to teach him a lesson today. Tian Chanzi waved his hand, indicating for Yen Patian to leave. This casual attitude caused the others to feel a chill in their hearts. This person was too ferocious. He actually dared to speak to Yen Patian in such a manner. One must know that Yen Patian was an invincible existence in the capital. However, this mysterious expert obviously did not put him in his eyes. Tang Zheng actually had such a master. Wasn't this too heaven-defying? Many people looked at Tang Zheng with complicated gazes. Envy, jealousy, hatred and so on. Today is this old man's 80th birthday, and Ming Xian is a guest of the Yen family. Why don't you give me some face? And this matter will end here. Yen Patian said calmly. Tian Chanzi shrugged his shoulders, glanced at Tang Zheng and said, Disciple, what should we do now? My master is not handing him over. Before Tang Zheng could reply, Tian Chanzi asked and answered himself, I know what you mean. Just now, that guy surnamed Chu wanted to kill you. If we were to let go of such a person so easily, then wouldn't we, master and disciple, lose a lot of face? In the future, anyone would dare to ride on our heads and act like a tyrant. Everyone's heart trembled. These words were too straightforward. This was not a peace talk, but a direct fight. Yen Qishan said impatiently, This is the Yen family, my father has the final say. Furthermore, Tang Zheng is Tianlei's son-in-law, this is a misunderstanding, so please don't go too far, so as to avoid getting along with each other. Hearing that, Tian Chanzi's eyes widened, his gaze locked onto Yi Dingdang in the crowd, and patted Tang Zheng in surprise, praising, Wow, my good disciple, you finally understood, haha, not bad. I've long felt that this girl from the Ye family is not bad, now you've finally succeeded. Yi Dingdong's face flushed red when she heard that. She glanced at Tang Zheng with her beautiful eyes and thought to herself, so I didn't guess wrong before. He had long since harbored ill intentions towards her. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang's expressions were a little strange. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry as they looked at Tian Chanzi. They had always respected this expert. They never thought that he would have such a side to his personality. The others looked at the Ye family with even more complicated expressions. No wonder the Ye family disregarded the Song family's face and broke off the marriage, and instead betrothed Yi Dingdang to an unknown brat. It turned out that this brat actually had such a deep background, and had such a powerful master. Song Yu's expression changed slightly. She was bewildered. She had underestimated Tang Zheng too much in the past. This love rival was much more complicated than she had imagined. Hee, my disciple is the son-in-law of the Ye family. What does it have to do with me? I'm just venting my anger for my disciple and seeking justice. Tian Chanzi continued. Your Highness, nephew Mingxian is a guest. Forgive me for not being able to comply, but it's impossible for me to hand him over to you. Yen Patian said resolutely. Heaven Monk shrugged his shoulders indifferently. I had already expected this result. Since you insist on going your own way, then let's have a fight. Let's see who's the real deal. This is the real deal. Alright, since you say so, it just so happens that I haven't exercised my muscles and bones for many years. Today, please enlighten me. Yen Patian was not afraid, but instead took a step forward and stepped forward. No matter what, Yen Patian could not retreat. This was the Yen family, and with so many people watching today, if he retreated, then the reputation of the Yen family would be damaged. This was a fatal blow. In addition, he was also very curious as to where such an expert came from. If he didn't fight, how could he see through the other party's clues? Father, today is your birthday. Let me do it. Yen Qishan said without hesitation. Tian Chanzi chuckled. Are you fighting with me? Not long ago, I fought with a fool who used a sword. Today, I want to see who is stronger between you and that fool. A fool who uses a sword? Everyone was stunned for a moment, and many of the people who reacted quickly had already turned pale. Qin Lao was one of them, and he was shocked in his heart. A fool who uses a sword, could it be that he is talking about the sword god? The sword god loves the sword like a fool, and to ordinary people, he is already a little silly. He is definitely talking about the sword god. Back then, when old man Qin saw Tang Zheng's heaven-flying immortal sword technique, he was shocked. Back then, he made a comparison between this sword technique and the sword god's sword technique. At that time, He even suspected that Tang Zhang was the sword god's disciple, but later on, he denied this point. This time, when he saw Tian Chanzi, he was glad that he had made the decision back then. If he had stayed in the ordinary balance back then and caused harm to Tang Zheng, then this person would definitely have appeared. Not only him, even Song Yu would not be able to leave the ordinary balance. You fought with the sword god? Yan Potian asked in bewilderment. Someone seems to call him that. Tian Chanzi said. After receiving this confirmation, everyone's heart trembled. This person was too heaven-defying. He actually exchanged blows with the elusive sword god. Chapter 302. Tian Chanzi seemed to have seen through the thoughts of the others and said, "That fool was injured in the end. The sword god was defeated." In their eyes, the sword god's attainments in the martial way were even higher than Yen potions, but he was still defeated by this person. What did this mean? This meant that this person was abnormally strong. The faces of Yen Potian and his son darkened at the same time. Yen Qishan had volunteered to fight in his father's place, but now it seemed that he did not have the qualifications to do so. Although he was also a grandmaster martial artist, he was only at the first level of the grandmaster martial artist. Yen Potian said in a deep voice, "Qishan, step down. Since this person can injure the sword god, then I will experience his skills today." Tian Chanzi laughed and said, "Good disciple, just watch for a while, I'll send him away first." "I can still hold on." Tang Zhang clenched his teeth and said. Seeing that, Yi Tianlei really wanted to persuade him, but he swallowed his words back. The scene of Chu Mingxian pressuring him step by step was still vivid in his mind, causing him to be unable to persuade him. Let's let Tang Zheng's master handle this matter. I've long disliked Chu Mingxian, so I can borrow Senior's hands to teach him a lesson. Feng Xinyang advised in a low voice. Yi Tianlei sighed secretly. After such a disturbance, the capital was truly going to be in turmoil, especially since the background and strength that Tang Zhang had displayed this time was enough to attract the attention of all the powers. After this, the reputation of the Ye family will definitely rise to an unprecedented level. Feng Xinyang sighed with emotion. The Ye family had made the right move, and had reaped a lot of benefits. Yi Dingdang did not have that many complicated thoughts, he only heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Since Tian Chanzi had come, then Tang Zheng would be safe. She immediately ran over to support Tang Zheng and asked with concern, "How are you?" Their hands were tightly clasped together. Tang Zheng's entire body trembled as a wave of purine energy majestically entered his body. His eyes lit up and he subconsciously tightened his grip on her hand. Yi Dingdang was overjoyed. Both of his hands held onto his hand, their fingers intertwined, as if their souls were leaning against each other. She had a strange feeling in her heart, but when she felt the high temperature of his palm, she hurriedly asked, "Why is your body temperature so high?" Tang Zheng took a deep breath and said, "I'm fine." Although the purine energy of the purine energy, it was not enough to let him out of his predicament to the brink of the situation. "But your body temperature?" Tang Zheng shook his head. "I'm fine." Then, he circulated his energy and quickly absorbed her purine energy. Seeing that, Yi Dingdang did not ask any further. The two of them looked at Tian Chanzi at the same time, only to see Tian Chanzi ordering Huang Xiang, "Protect him well, kill anyone who dares to harm him." Huang Xiang did not say anything, but stood in front of Tang Zheng without hesitation. His eyes shone with a fierce light that could captivate one's soul. The others subconsciously avoided his gaze, not daring to look him in the eye. "Come, let me see who is stronger between you and that idiot who uses a sword." Tian Chanzi took a step forward. This step was not big, but with just this step, he had closed the distance between him and Yen Potian by a few meters. Yen Potian's face darkened as he lightly punched out. This punch looked ordinary and did not have much power. But when his fist arrived in front of Tian Chanzi, bang bang bang, the air around Tian Chanzi released a series of explosive sounds, but the air turned into fists that could not be seen with the naked eye, and the vast aura caused one's heart to tremble. This was a very mysterious realm of fist techniques. It was a realm where the fist intent that burst forth resonated with the air, causing the air to also become as powerful as a fist. The air was everywhere, so the attack was naturally everywhere. Unless one was an expert of the same realm, It would be impossible to unleash such an exquisite cultivation technique. Although the others did not understand, when they saw such a scene, some of them were so scared that their faces turned pale and their legs went weak. The corner of Tian Chanzi's mouth curled up, and he also punched out. The moment he punched out, he displayed an incomparable might, and his fist seemed to have instantly grown larger. No, it was definitely not getting bigger, but the surface of his fist was emitting a faint layer of light. His palm glowed. What realm was this? Only a few people knew that this was a manifestation of a cultivation technique that had been trained to the extreme. This was the manifestation of the inner strength being released. When the inner strength was forced out of the body, there would be this kind of fist light. However, they did not know that this fist light was not caused by the release of inner strength, but by the release of innate qi. However, Tian Chanzi was good at passing off fake as real, so no one else could discover any clues. When Tian Chanzi fought with such a warrior expert, of course he would not rashly use spells. These people were all smart people. If the other party were to see through his identity as a cultivator, although Tian Chanzi was not afraid at all, it would cause trouble for Tang Zheng. Tian Chanzi was an old monster who had lived for over 1,000 years. He was the one who was truly smart, and when he considered the problem, he would not easily reveal any flaws. A fist with a fist light met the attack that was everywhere and merged into the air. Boom! With a loud sound, screams came from the crowd. Many people were blown away by the energy that spread out in all directions, and some even spat out blood. Yan Qishan hurriedly advised loudly, "Everyone quickly leave the hall." Everyone stepped out bravely. They were originally prepared to watch a good show, but this was only the first move, and it had already burst forth with such terrifying power. It caused them to personally experience the danger of an expert's exchange of blows. Being a spectator was also a life-threatening situation. However, no one left. They all gathered near the entrance of the hall and stretched their necks to look at the two sides of the battle. There were only 2 people left in the hall. Even a pre-celestial martial artist like Yi Tianlei had no choice but to retreat. This punch was just an appetizer. Tian Chanzi and Yen Potion's clothes fluttered in the wind, but their bodies did not move in the slightest. This old man is using the dragon form technique. Please enlighten me. As soon as Yen Potian finished speaking, his body actually became illusory. However, this was not a spell, but a violent fluctuation produced by the inner strength in his body, causing the surrounding air to fluctuate as well. Ripples spread out in circles, making people feel as if his body was about to disappear. Actually, he was still standing in place. Roar! With a furious roar that sounded like a dragon's roar, a wave of air rose into the air. His entire body turned into an angry dragon as he attacked Tian Chanzi. This scene was an eye-opener. In the eyes of many people, Yen Potian seemed to have truly turned into an angry dragon, attacking with an invincible might. Tian Chanzi formed a sword art in his hand, causing the air to vibrate, and a sword appeared in his hand. It was not a real sword, but a sword formed from innate qi, emitting a faint light. Sword qi, it's actually sword qi, and it's sword qi that has condensed into a real sword. The crowd cried out in alarm. People who practiced sword arts needed a certain amount of power to cultivate sword qi, but it was not too difficult. For example, pre-celestial stage martial artists could usually unleash sword qi. However, to condense sword qi into a real sword like Tian Chanzi was simply wishful thinking. It was absolutely impossible. Many people looked at the real sword and understood that Tian Chanzi was not exaggerating when he said that he had injured the sword god. He really did have the strength to do so, and he had even used the sword that the sword god was most proud of to injure the other party. My good disciple, it seems that this sword technique is different from what you usually use. Tian Chanzi roared. Tang Zheng's heart moved, knowing that Tian Chanzi was about to use the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. Tang Zheng had already completely learned the first move, Wind Surge, and the second move had already been mastered to the 30th move. Tian Chanzi was going to show himself. He would not let go of this rare opportunity. The others also stared at Tian Chanzi, knowing that this sword technique was not ordinary. If they could comprehend 1 or 2 of it, then they would benefit for the rest of their lives. Whoosh! The sword danced, and the air in all directions began to churn, as if it had turned into clouds and mist. Violent winds rose from the ground, howling incessantly. Wind Surge! The move Tian Chanzi used was the first move of the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted. He himself definitely did not have such a strong power. Tian Chanzi's move was many times stronger than his. Pa pa pa. The tables and chairs in the hall turned into dust amidst the tumbling waves of air, and then, they mixed with the air and condensed on the surface of the long sword. In an instant, the long sword suddenly became 10 times larger. The sword was originally only half a meter long, but now, it had become 5 meters long and incomparably wide. This is no longer the first move. This is the second move. Yes, this is the second move that I have yet to fully comprehend. Tang Zheng became excited, his eyes wide open. Roar! Yen Potion's aura had also finished accumulating, and the furious dragon that he had transformed into increased by several times. He opened his mouth and bit towards Tian Chanzi. Sword-breaking Chen Jun. Tian Chanzi roared, the gigantic sword slashed down, ruthlessly slashing onto the body of the furious dragon. In that instant, time seemed to have stopped, and the air in the hall seemed to have frozen. Everyone's eyes froze at this moment, and the figures of the gigantic sword and the raging dragon were deeply imprinted in their hearts. Many people who did not know martial arts or were weak felt their minds tremble as an indescribable pressure pressed down on their hearts. Their eyes rolled back and they fainted one after another. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people had already fainted. Those who persevered were all warriors above the 8th grade of body refining stage. Yi Dingdong's face was deathly pale, her legs were trembling, but a warm power was transmitted into her body from Tang Zheng's palm, allowing her to resist the power. Some of the pre-celestial martial artists present finally realized the difference between them and the Grandmaster. There was no way to make up for this kind of gap. It was a natural moat. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact, it only took an instant. The gigantic sword shattered, and the raging dragon also disintegrated. A powerful wave of air soared into the sky, and smoke and dust rose in all directions. No one could see the people in the hall clearly. Kacha kacha kacha, a series of strange noises rang out, and before anyone could figure out what was going on, they heard a loud bang, and the large wooden building collapsed with a loud bang. Chapter 303. The wooden building collapsed and dust rose in all directions. Everyone retreated one after another as they stared at the messy ruins with their mouths agape. This wooden building had actually been torn apart during the battle between the two of them. Were they still human? It actually had such terrifying power. However, what happened to the two of them? Would they be buried in the ruins and die? Before anyone could react, two figures soared into the sky from the ruins and stood firmly in the middle of the ruins. However, there was not a single speck of dust or debris on their bodies. Their clothes fluttered in the wind. The others stared at the two of them, not knowing how the battle was going. Suddenly, Yen Potion's body swayed, and he retreated half a step. He sighed and said, "I've lost, my power is indeed extraordinary." Tian Chanzi chuckled and said, "Your power is not weak either, it's about the same as that idiot who uses the sword. You can be considered an expert in this world." Yes, Yen Potion's strength could indeed be considered an expert in this world, but if it was placed in the cultivation world of 1,000 years ago, it would not be that outstanding. Naturally, in Tian Chanzi's eyes, Yen Potion was not worth paying too much attention to. But when the others heard this, their expressions became especially complicated and interesting. Just how powerful was this mysterious expert? His tone was so big, and he had so easily defeated Yen Potion, who seemed unreachable to them. "May I ask your name? Why have I never heard of you before?" Yen Potion asked. "Hee, of course you haven't heard of me. As for my name, it's just a code name. There's no need for you to know." After Tian Chanzi finished speaking, he strode towards Tang Zheng, who was at the edge of the ruins. When the others saw this, they all retreated, as if they were afraid that Tian Chanzi would kill them. "My good disciple, did you see it clearly just now?" Tian Chanzi asked. Tang Zheng nodded his head. Those two moves of the heaven-flying immortal sword technique were completed in one go, causing Tang Zheng to be mesmerized by them, but he also had many different insights. Just now, he had completely comprehended the last 6 moves of the second move of the heaven-flying immortal sword technique, which meant that he had completely mastered the second move of the heaven-flying immortal sword technique, the 36 moves. The sword can break through 1,000 catties. It has the power of 1,000 catties. All enemies will be defeated by the sword. Tang Zhang said in a deep voice. Tian Chanzi nodded appreciatively and said, "Not bad. Now that you've learned 2 moves, the rest will depend on your luck." When the others heard this, they looked at Tang Zhang in shock. He had actually learned such a terrifying sword technique just now. Although they had clearly seen Tian Chanzi's sword move, they were still unable to grasp the main point. This was the ingenuity of the transcendent flying immortal sword technique. Even if an outsider could clearly see how the sword moved, without a sword technique, it would be useless. Many people looked at Tang Zhang with red eyes, thinking to themselves, if I were to learn those 2 sword techniques just now, then wouldn't I also be as powerful as this mysterious expert? That would simply be the trend of sweeping through the world. Of course, this was their wishful thinking. Even if Tang Zhang had already completely learned these 2 moves, the power he displayed was still incomparable to Tian Chanzi's. This was because of the limitations of one's cultivation. Although the moves were the same, the deeper one's cultivation, the greater the power. Now that no one is stopping us, let's solve the problem. Tian Chanzi turned around and locked onto Chu Mingxian, who was in the crowd. Chu Mingxuan's face instantly turned pale. He hid behind Yan Qishan and said, "Elder Yan, Brother Qishan, you can't let this person do whatever he wants." Yan Qishan's expression kept changing. He looked towards his father, but Yan Patian acted as if he did not see him. Immediately, Yan Qishan understood his father's decision. This mysterious person was too powerful. Although this was the Yan family's territory, in the face of such a powerful existence, the Yan family had no choice but to compromise. The Yan family was no longer prepared to protect Chu Mingxian. Although the Chu family had a close relationship with the Yan family, it was still not as big of a threat as Tian Chanzi. Yan Patian had fought with Tian Chanzi before, so he could deeply understand how terrifying he was, so he did not dare to offend him. Tian Chanzi chuckled and asked jokingly, "Didn't you say that you were going to deal with my disciple? Why are you afraid now?" Chu Mingxian pretended to be fierce and shouted, "What are you doing? In broad daylight, if you dare to harm me, the Chu family will not let you off." Normally, Chu Mingxian would never say such threatening words, because ordinary people would not be able to threaten him at all. Even the people from the other great clans would not be able to make him so afraid, because the people from the great clans did not represent themselves, but the entire clan behind them. Every word and action of theirs had to be for the benefit of the clan. But Tian Chanzi obviously did not have such concerns. Since this person wanted to deal with Tang Zhang, then he would naturally have to take revenge. Seeing Tian Chanzi walking over step by step, the rest of the people around him retreated like they were avoiding the plague, not daring to stay by Chu Mingxuan's side. Chu Mingxuan's face had already turned deathly pale. Beads of sweat the size of beans seeped out of his forehead, and his legs were trembling. Although Tian Chanzi had not done anything yet, this soul-stirring aura caused his breathing to involuntarily become heavier. The others kept quiet out of fear as they stared at Tian Chanzi and Chu Mingxian. Some of them even rejoiced that they did not add insult to injury just now. The people of the Song family had this kind of feeling. Although they were also angry at Tang Zhang, they did not show it on their faces. Otherwise, Tian Chanzi would also rush towards them, and the Song family would not be able to resist. Chu Mingxian retreated, retreating again and again. However, Tian Chanzi's pace was obviously faster than his, and in the blink of an eye, Tian Chanzi was already in front of him. Chu Mingxuan's heart turned cold. Suddenly he had an idea, and shouted towards Yi Tianlei. "Yi Tianlei, if anything happens to me today, the Chu family will definitely not let the Ye family off, and will definitely make the Ye family disappear from this world." Feng Xinyang's expression suddenly changed, and he said angrily, "Chu Mingxian, you are shouting crazily. Think about how you treated Tang Zheng just now, you brought this upon yourself." Yi Tianlei's expression also became extremely ugly. Looking at the fear on Chu Mingxuan's face and the determination on Tian Chanzi's face, his mind raced. If Chu Mingxian really died, and died because of Tang Zheng, then the Chu family will definitely blame this on the Ye family. Although the Ye family now has a great master martial artist, it has only been a few months, and their strength and foundation cannot compare to the Chu family. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tianlei had already made his decision, and hurriedly advised, "Senior, please spare his life, otherwise the situation will be too serious." Yi Tianlei taking the initiative to plead for mercy did not cause the others to look down on him, because they were very clear on what kind of storm Mingxian's death would cause. Since Yi Tianlei was representing the Ye family now, he naturally had to consider the interests of the Ye family. But what made everyone's jaws drop was that Tian Chanzi did not even care about him, and attacked like lightning. Chu Mingxian pointed his foot in front of him and flew backwards. However, Heaven Monk did not give him the chance to dodge at all. He grabbed downwards with his big hand, and a strong suction force appeared. Chu Mingxian felt his entire body tighten, as if his blood was about to freeze. He stared at his opponent in fear, but there was nowhere to run. He had lived for most of his life and had always been pampered. When had he ever received such a fatal threat? Yi Dingdang looked at his father, then looked at Tian Chanzi and Chu Mingxian. In the end, he clenched his teeth and said, "Tang Zheng, can you tell your master to stop? If Chu Mingxian dies, the Ye family will be in trouble." Tang Zheng pondered for a moment. He was the son-in-law of the Ye family to the outside world. If Chu Mingxian really died in the hands of Tian Chanzi, the Chu family would definitely blame this on the Ye family. Moreover, he would be living in the capital for the next few years. If he really killed Chu Mingxian, the Chu family would definitely not be able to swallow this anger. If one did not know, the Chu family could also have a great master stage expert, which was an absolute threat to Tang Zheng. This time, the most important thing for him was to display his strength and make others fear him. From today onwards, they would not dare to make a move against him without permission. So teaching Chu Mingxian a lesson was the most sensible thing to do. Looking at Yi Dingdong's anxious eyes, Tang Jing nodded and said to Tian Chanzi, "Master, be gentle." This call of master made Tian Chanzi feel comfortable all over, and he immediately cracked open his mouth to laugh. Although this was an act, hearing Tang Zhang call him master, he was still happy from the bottom of his heart. Tian Chanzi's greatest regret in his life was not being able to take Tang Zheng in as a disciple, so he felt that it was especially precious to have him call him master. If anyone else knew of this, they would definitely want to kneel in front of Tian Chanzi and continuously kowtow and call him master. Having this kind of master was simply a dream come true. All right, you can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment, Tian Chanzi said lightly. The others all turned their heads and looked at Tang Zheng in shock. His words had such a great effect. This disciple was simply too awesome. Many people had the same thought. They absolutely could not provoke Tang Zheng. In the future, when they went back, they would have to warn their families that if they met this guy, they would have to avoid him and take a detour. Tang Zheng had already become infamous for killing Raging Inferno earlier. Because of what happened today, his reputation became even more infamous, and no one would dare to provoke him in the future. This was also what Tang Zheng hoped for. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. As long as Chu Mingxian did not die, then the Ye family would not be so passive in this matter. At the same time, the father and son of the Yen family also heaved a sigh of relief. If Chu Mingxian was killed in the Yen family, then the Yen family and the Chu family would be finished. However, even if it wasn't completely over this time, there was very little affection left. The father and son of the Yen family had their own difficulties. Facing a powerful and mysterious existence like Tian Chanzi, not everyone, not every family, had the power to resist. When Chu Mingxian heard that he did not need to die, he was like a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw. His brows revealed a trace of relief, but when he saw Heaven Monk's still cold eyes, he immediately felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. The death penalty could be avoided, but the punishment was hard to forgive. Chapter 304. This heart-wrenching scream caused the hearts of the others to tremble, especially the twisted expression on Chu Mingxuan's face. Many people who had fainted just now woke up because of this scream, but when they saw Chu Mingxuan's appearance, they immediately fainted from fright. Chu Mingxian immediately became sinister and terrifying, like an evil spirit that had crawled out of hell. His face alternated between green and white, and bean-sized beads of sweat covered his face. Furthermore, the bones in his body emitted a series of cracking sounds. A smart person would know that his bones were broken, and the bones were broken from the upper half of his body to the lower half of his body. His entire body was broken by Tian Chanzi's great strength. This kind of pain was truly unbearable, causing people to feel fear at the sight of it. However, Tian Chanzi's expression did not change at all. It was extremely calm. Suddenly, he let go of his hand, and Chu Mingxian could no longer scream. His entire body was trembling, and he was lying on the ground like a pile of mud, on the verge of death. Tian Chanzi clapped his hands, and glanced at the king of medicine without caring at all, and said, "You have a way to cure him." The king of medicine subconsciously nodded his head. He had studied this kind of bone-breaking technique for many years, so of course he was very proficient in it. Although Tian Chanzi had broken many of the other party's bones, the king of medicine really had miraculous pills that could reconnect these bones. However, Chu Mingxian was going to suffer greatly. It would take at least a year and a half to recover from this injury. Tian Chanzi said that the death penalty could be avoided, but the punishment was hard to forgive. This made the others feel that perhaps death would be better than this pain. The king of medicine came back to his senses, and stared at Tian Chanzi in astonishment, and said, "Senior, you know me?" "King of medicine, my disciple has some fate with you," Tian Chanzi said indifferently. The king of medicine looked towards Tang Zhang, thinking that Tang Zhang must have mentioned him to Tian Chanzi, and couldn't help but feel honored. Ever since he knew about the life-continuing pill, the king of medicine had treated Tang Zhang, this mysterious master, as a senior. This was not in terms of martial arts, but in terms of medical skills. He had always fantasized that he would be able to ask for advice face-to-face one day, but he never thought that the opportunity would come so quickly. Although the others were very surprised that the king of medicine called Tian Chanzi senior, because from the looks of the two, Tian Chanzi was at most middle-aged, similar to Yi Tianlei and the others. He was much younger than the king of medicine and Yen Patian. Moreover, medicine was different from martial arts. Everyone knew that the king of medicine was the apricot forest saint, and was the most powerful person in this area, but he wholeheartedly called Tian Chanzi senior. Could it be that not only was this person skilled in martial arts, but his medical skills were also better than the king of medicine? This was truly heaven-defying. Medicine and martial arts were two completely different systems. This person had reached the peak of both fields, making them really want to suspect that Tian Chanzi was not human. Even Yen Patian could not help but look at Tian Chanzi in astonishment. The king of medicine was incomparably honored, and said excitedly, "Senior, it is my great honor to be able to meet you today. Junior has many things to ask of you." Tian Chanzi waved his hand and said, "I still have a lot of things to do. Next time if you are fated to do so, I will give you a few pointers, but right now I can give you a sentence. The way of the apricot forest is a type of great Tao. As long as you persevere and use your imagination is currently restricted too much. There are not many things in the world that are impossible, especially the way of the apricot forest, flesh and bones, and the resurrection of the dead, are not nonsense but can really be realized." Every time Tian Chanzi said a word, the king of medicine's heart seemed to have been baptized, thumping wildly, as if it was about to burst out of his chest. His eyes also widened, his eyes shining, and he trembled as he muttered to himself, "Flesh and bones, the resurrection of the dead. It really can be realized." Suddenly, he thought of the life-continuing pill. That's right, even a person's lifespan could be extended. This was fighting with nature and the heavens for life. This was simply the way of immortals. So it turned out that the way of the apricot forest that he had been researching really had such a miraculous effect. In the past, his thoughts had been restricted too much. He looked at Tian Chanzi with a burning gaze. This person's knowledge was countless times greater than his, and he was afraid that there were many things that he had never heard of or even dared to think about. Although Tian Chanzi did not explain anything to him in detail, just these few short words were enough to enlighten him. Everything that he had researched for more than half of his life seemed to have become pale and powerless. He used to think that he was very powerful, but now he realized that he was actually a toddler. He bowed deeply to Tian Chanzi, and said from the bottom of his heart with a trembling voice, "Thank you for your guidance, senior." The others were already stunned. This was not any less shocking than when Tian Chanzi defeated Yen Patian just now. This had broken their imaginations. Many people wished that they could invite Tian Chanzi home. With such a genius doctor around, they and their families would definitely live to 100 years old. After all, he was already very old, and sometimes, he felt that he was powerless, and was extremely reluctant to part with this world. If he could live for a few more years, then he would be willing to pay any price. Tian Chanzi ignored the king of medicine's respect and walked straight to Tang Zhang, and asked kindly, "Are you satisfied?" "Not bad," Tang Zhang said lightly. Tian Chanzi laughed involuntarily. "You brat, your requirements are really high. Little girl Yi, long time no see." Senior. Yi Dingdang bowed to Tian Chanzi. I'm very happy to see Senior again. Senior is still as elegant as ever. Haha, you know how to talk. I'll give you some pointers on the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra later. You've already reached the threshold of the post-celestial realm. Tian Chanzi said casually. Yi Dingdang cheered and said, Thank you, Senior. Her Jade Maiden Heart Sutra had indeed reached the threshold, but she was still a bit away from crossing it. If she had Tian Chanzi's guidance, wouldn't she be able to step into the threshold of the post-celestial realm in a minute? Moreover, this set of Jade Maiden Heart Sutra was definitely obtained by Tang Zheng from the senior. His understanding of the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra would definitely surpass hers by countless times. When the others heard this, they were so envious of Yi Dingdang. With such an expert guiding her, it was simply unimaginable. Many people looked at Tang Zheng and thought to themselves, Yi Tianlei really raised a good daughter. If she could capture this brat Tang Zheng, why not go home and tell his daughter to capture Tang Zheng? Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang looked at each other, unable to hide their joy. Only the Song family members had gloomy expressions, especially Song Yu, who had already clenched her teeth, as if she wanted to grind them to pieces. Let's go, the matter here has already come to an end. Tian Chanzi said as he patted Tang Zheng's shoulder. Tang Zheng nodded, but did not let go of Yi Dingdong's hand. This was because the pure yang energy in his body had not completely calmed down. Tian Chanzi chuckled, of course he knew about Tang Zheng's situation, and thought to himself, Brat, I told you to make a move on this girl a long time ago, and now you're finally enlightened. Now that Feng Shishir has gone abroad, if you don't take this girl down, let's see where you can find pure yin energy. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang immediately bid farewell to Yen Patian, and then hurriedly left the mountain with Tang Zheng and the others. Yen Patian turned around and went to another wooden building, while the other guests also took their leave. This time, the birthday banquet ended on a bad note, and no one was in the mood to continue. What happened today was too shocking, and they had to tell the others about it as soon as possible. Tang Zheng was an ominous star that could not be provoked. The bodies of Chu Mingxian and Chu Xiaohui, who had completely fainted, were properly settled down by the Yen family. Then, the Yen family gathered together. Yen Patian sat on the chair, and before he could even speak to his family, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The others turned pale with fright. What's wrong? Yen Potion's expression was dispirited. He waved his hand and said, I won't die yet. That person just now was really too powerful, so powerful that it exceeded my imagination. I had been holding back my blood just now. Otherwise, if I vomited blood in front of so many people, wouldn't I have lost a lot of face? The King of Medicine had an extremely good relationship with the Yen family, and was also in the room. He recovered from his shock and immediately checked Yen Potion's pulse, and said, Elder Yen, you are fine. I will prescribe you a few medicines to recuperate, and you will be fine. Yen Patian nodded his head in thanks. Thank you, King of Medicine. Although I was not seriously injured this time, if I were to continue fighting, I would definitely not be injured like this. Father, could it be that even with me, we are still not his match? Yen Qishan asked, unwilling to give up. In all these years, he had never seen his father admit defeat like this. Yen Luyun also looked at his grandfather with a burning gaze. His grandfather had always been his idol, and he was determined to become someone like his grandfather. He never thought that he would actually encounter a Waterloo in front of a mysterious expert today. Yen Patian squeezed out a smile and said, Even with you, it's impossible to win against this kind of expert with numbers. I am completely unable to guess how high his cultivation is. Father, he did not use his full strength in his battle with you today. His two sword techniques are obviously incomplete, which means that there are still a few more moves left. Yen Qingyi, who had been silent the entire time, spoke up. Ever since Tian Chanzi appeared, she had been observing him without saying a word. However, her words revealed her level. Although she did not know martial arts, she was too smart. Her intelligence was close to that of a demon, and she was able to see through the clues with a single glance. Even Yen Qishan was inferior to her in this aspect. Yen Qishan said in surprise, Qingyi, does he really have a follow-up sword move? Yen Qingyi firmly nodded her head, and Yen Patian also agreed. Indeed, when I fought with him, I felt it the most. Just those two moves alone were enough to break my dragon form technique, and if I were to use the sword moves later on, I'm afraid that I would really die under his sword. You must know that even the sword god, who has been obsessed with the way of the sword for his entire life, is inferior to him in sword techniques. This person is so powerful that it's beyond common sense. It's as if he's not from this world. Yen Luyun sighed. Yen Patian laughed. He is powerful, but it can't be said that he doesn't look like someone from this world. There are many experts in this world, Luyun. Don't look at how powerful our Yen family is in the secular world, but outside of this mortal world, there is a group of experts that are even more unreachable. They are the true experts of this world, but they have other goals and do not wander around this mortal world, so most people do not know of their existence. Yen Luyun heard this, and his eyes widened in surprise. This was the first time he had heard of this matter. Qingyi, this time, you have to represent the Yen family and make a trip to the Li Palace. Suddenly, Yen Patian said with a serious expression. Chapter 305. Li Palace. Yen Qingyi was shocked. Is there a need to go to the Li Palace? Yen Qishan was also bewildered. The relationship between the Yen family and the Li Palace was not shallow, and the reason why the Yen family was able to grow up all these years was because of the Li Palace. However, the Yen family would not easily use this relationship. Yes, for such a powerful expert to appear in this world, the Li Palace will know about it soon. Moreover, the Li Palace is the most well-informed place in the world. I also want to know if the Li Palace knows about this person's origins. Yen Patian had his own plans. The others suddenly realized that the most important thing now was to find out about this person who they had never heard of before. Yen Patian glanced at the King of Medicine again, and said, King of Medicine, for Yi Xuanji to be able to recover from his injuries and even break through to the Grandmaster realm, I'm afraid it has something to do with this person, right? The King of Medicine was slightly shocked. Yen Patian was really smart. His thoughts were also unconstrained, and he actually guessed this point. Yes, but I promised them that I wouldn't spread the details, so I'm sorry, I can't go into detail. The King of Medicine said. The people of the Yen family sighed with emotion. Originally, the Ye family was about to collapse, but they didn't expect that because of this person's appearance, there would be such a huge change. The Ye family was truly fortunate. Father, what about the Chu family? Yen Qishan asked worriedly. This time, one of the Chu family members had died and the other was injured. It could be said that they had lost a lot of face. Although the Yen family was more powerful than the Chu family, they still had to think about how to explain it. Yen Patian muttered to himself for a moment. Qishan, go back with the Yen family and explain to the Yen family that if they blame us, we can't do anything about it. Furthermore, you must warn them that Tangzhang cannot be easily touched, otherwise, the capital will really become chaotic. Yen Qishan nodded. Dan Page knew that the task of convincing the Yen family would not be easy, but no matter what, she had to ensure this. King of Medicine, I'll have to trouble you to make a trip to the Yen family this time. I'll leave Ming Xian's injuries to you. Yen Patian said. The King of Medicine nodded nonchalantly. While the Yen family was arranging the follow-up actions, the incident at the birthday banquet had already spread to the ears of many people in Beijing. Immediately, the name of Tang Zhang and the image of Tian Chanzi were deeply imprinted in the hearts of some people. But at that time, he was sitting in the Ye family's luxury car, leaving Longxiang Mountain and returning to the city. Senior, can I invite you to the Ye family for a chat? When you saved our family during the ordinary balance, we have yet to properly thank you. Yi Tianlei said in an incomparably solemn tone. Tian Chanzi chuckled. I don't want to go to the Ye family, otherwise that old man of yours will be nagging again, wishing that he could study me thoroughly. You big families are like this. Very boring. Yi Tianlei was a little embarrassed and said resentfully, Then that's really a pity. I wonder where Senior is staying in the capital. I also want to pay you a visit. Tian Chanzi waved his hand and said, Forget it, I don't like to be disturbed. During this period of time, I still have to catch up with my disciple. Yi Tianlei helplessly smiled bitterly. My good disciple, you see, for you, Master came to the capital from thousands of miles away, because I was afraid that you would be bullied by these so-called big families. Master cares about you enough. Tian Chanzi said as if he was boasting. Tang Zhang could not help but roll his eyes. You keep calling me disciple, wanting to take advantage of me. Now that there are other people, I cannot refute you. However, he was very surprised as to why he came to the capital. Wasn't he looking for traces of cultivators? Why did he come to the capital? Could it be that there were cultivators in the capital? Okay, stop the car, I will get off first. Remember to find me at this place at night, my good disciple. Tian Chanzi whispered the name of a place in Tang Zheng's ear, and then brought Huang Xiang out of the car. Little girl Yi, if you cultivate your Jade Women's Heart Sutra according to the method I just taught you, I guarantee that in these few days you will advance by leaps and bounds. Tian Chanzi turned his head and looked at Yi Dingdang. Yi Dingdang excitedly nodded her head. Yes, thank you senior for your guidance. Tian Chanzi waved his hand, and in the afterglow of the setting sun, his figure quickly disappeared. Yi Tianlei let out a long sigh. I really did not think that things would turn out like this. Tang Zhang said apologetically, I'm sorry Uncle Yi Aunt Feng, because of me, the Ye family was dragged into this. This time, who knows how the Chu family will retaliate. Feng Xinyang frowned and said, Hang they dare? This time, the Chu family suffered a big setback. Moreover, the Yen family chose to acquiesce, so the Chu family will definitely not dare to cause trouble. Without the support of the Yen family, if the Chu family wants to jump around, they will only be asking to be humiliated. Yi Tianlei also nodded his head in agreement. This time, you did not do anything to the Ye family. Instead, you brought benefits to the Ye family. Right now, everyone knows that the Ye family has such a powerful son-in-law like you, so it can be said that the Ye family took advantage of you. Feng Xinyang beamed with joy. This is called our family having a good daughter like Dingdang. Other people do not have a good daughter like Dingdang. Yi Dingdong's face was full of shyness as she said, Mom, what are you saying? AI, what I said is the truth. Don't dislike hearing it. Right now, Tang Zheng is very popular. You have to keep a close eye on him. Otherwise, who knows how many girls from other families will recommend themselves to sleep with him. Feng Xinyang earnestly warned. Tang Zheng was greatly embarrassed and coughed awkwardly. Fortunately, at this time, it was the Ye family's turn. Otherwise, it would be as if he was sitting on pins and needles. As soon as he returned to the Ye family, from afar, a small white shadow jumped onto Tang Zheng's body. Today, Xiao Bai was not brought to the banquet. Otherwise, he might spit fire on the spot. That would be explosive. Yi Tianlei went to see Yi Xuanji and reported the matter of the birthday banquet. Yi Xuanji was shocked on the spot. He always knew that Tang Zheng had a powerful master, but he did not expect that he would appear in front of everyone today and even cause such a big storm. Father, this time we borrowed the east wind of Tang Zheng's influence. Naturally, our position in the hearts of others will rise by a level. However, it can be said that we have also formed a death grudge with the Chu family. Yi Tianlei said. Yi Xuanji snorted disdainfully and said, So what if we have a death grudge? When I had no hope of breaking through to the master level, the Chu family had always been eyeing our Ye family covetously. They couldn't wait to divide up our Ye family. This time, the Chu family suffered a big setback. It can be considered letting them off easy. Hearing this, Yi Tianlei breathed a sigh of relief. This means that the Ye family will unswervingly stand behind Tang Zheng. If the Chu family really dared to act out of desperation, the Ye family will not sit idly by. As if reading his son's mind, Yi Xuanji comforted him. Don't worry, the Chu family will only swallow this anger. They will not rashly find trouble with Tang Zheng. In the capital, as long as they are smart, they will not find trouble with Tang Zheng. His master caused such a ruckus. Other people will not bump into the muzzle of the gun and seek their own death. Yi Tianlei nodded in agreement. If possible, I really want to meet this mysterious master. Yi Xuanji said with longing. Yi Tianlei sighed helplessly. I invited him but he did not agree. Fine, we will meet again if fate wills it. Tang Zheng did not stay in the Ye family for long. After dinner, he took Xiao Bai and went straight to the meeting place with Tian Chanzi. In the night, a figure shuttled back and forth in the city without attracting anyone's attention. He was going to the center of the city. The Imperial City. This is a huge palace complex, left behind by the previous dynasty. During the day, there are many tourists, and it is a famous tourist attraction. Under the curtain of night, the Imperial City was like a resting ferocious beast, silently watching this ancient city. This historical imperial city is extremely incompatible with the surrounding high-rise buildings, but it was still preserved and became a historical site. Tang Zheng jumped over the wall and lightly landed in the imperial city. In ancient times, this was the center of power, representing supreme power. Huang Xiang quietly stood in the darkness, blending into the night. Ordinary people would not be able to detect him, but Tang Zheng saw him. Huang Xiang led the way in front, and a moment later, the two came to the depths of the palace complex. This is the center of the imperial city. A majestic palace quietly stood in front of them, and a majestic atmosphere spontaneously arose. Tian Chanzi was standing in the middle of the palace, looking at the throne that represents power, the dragon throne. Hearing Tang Zheng's footsteps, Tian Chanzi did not move his eyes away. Tang Zheng stood next to him, also staring at the dragon throne. For a long time he did not see anything. Boy, this is the throne that many people dream of. You don't want to sit on it and experience what it is like? Tian Chanzi asked. Tang Zheng curled his lips and said, "Experience my ass. Now is not the ancient times. The dragon throne does not mean anything." Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Xiaobai jumped out of Tang Zheng's arms and jumped on the dragon throne, jumping on it, very happy. Tian Chanzi's eyes shrank and asked in surprise, "What is this?" "My pet." "Pet? Who are you kidding? This is a demon beast." Tian Chanzi's expression changed slightly. "Demon beast? Of course, and this demon beast is very powerful. Who knows how many times stronger than you? I am very curious. Where did you get it, and how did it become your pet? I think you are more like its pet." Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. "I am a human, how can I be a pet? As for Xiaobai's origin, I won't talk about it first. What do you think its origin is? There are so many demon beasts in this world. Do you really think that I don't know everything? How would I know its origin? However, I can see that it is still in its infancy. When it truly grows up, it will be very powerful. Hey, I haven't seen such a fascinating demon beast for many years. Brat, did you have some kind of fortuitous encounter? Tell me the truth." Tian Chanzi looked at him with interest. Tang Zheng did not hide anything and told him about the witch clan. Chapter 306. Tang Zheng did not expect Tian Chanzi to be so surprised by the witch clan. This meant that the witch clan was far more extraordinary than he had imagined, and immediately asked, "Do you know why the witch clan is trapped in the 10,000 huge mountains?" 1,000 years ago, the 10,000 huge mountains was a dangerous place, and ordinary cultivators rarely set foot in it. As for the prehistoric heavenly tomb you mentioned, I have never heard of it, and I do not know if the witch clan is suitable to be trapped there. Tian Chanzi shook his head. Tang Zheng was disappointed. He originally thought that Tian Chanzi would be able to answer his questions. However, you brat actually had such a fortuitous encounter. You are truly envious of others. Looks like after I leave the capital this time, I will have to go to the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Tian Chanzi was moved. But you must be careful. It's very strange inside. Of course I know. This time, I came to the capital to save your life. Are you very grateful to me? Tian Chanzi raised his eyebrows and asked with a wink. Please, I don't know you. You definitely didn't come to the capital specifically because of me. Tell me the truth. Why did you come to the capital? Tang Zheng was not fooled. You're getting smarter and smarter. Of course. Furthermore, you keep calling me a good disciple. You must have had a good time this time. Tang Zheng immediately pierced through his heart. Tian Chanzi laughed complacently. Of course, it's not like you don't know. Not being able to be your master is my greatest regret. Come on. Tell me why you came to the capital this time. Also, didn't you go to find the whereabouts of the cultivators? What clues do you have? Tian Chanzi coughed and said, After a few months of hard work, although I did not see any other cultivators, I finally found a breakthrough. From this breakthrough, we can find out what exactly happened in the past 1,000 years, and why did the cultivators disappear? Oh, could it be that the breakthrough is in the capital? Tang Zheng was suddenly enlightened. Tian Chanzi nodded approvingly and pointed at his feet. The breakthrough is here. Tang Zheng looked down and saw nothing but the floor, so he asked, Don't play games with me. What's so special about this place? Do you know what this imperial city was built for? The imperial city is naturally built to be the emperor's palace. Then why did you build a new one here when there was an imperial city in the south? Don't bully me because I didn't study history. The emperor is the guardian of the country. Everyone knows that, Tang Jing said. Tian Chanzi laughed strangely. That's why I said you're a genius in cultivation, but you're still too inexperienced in some aspects. The emperor guarding the country's gate is just an excuse. The important thing is the thing under your feet. Stop trying to be mysterious. I'm standing on the floor. There's nothing else. All right, then I'll answer your question. Let me tell you, I spent a lot of effort to get this information. There's a dragon beneath our feet. Dragon? Tang Zheng was shocked. Yes, a true dragon. It's the dragon in your legends. Even 1,000 years ago, dragons were extremely rare. Dragons are also a member of the demon race, but they're very noble and rare. They're an existence that other demon races can't compare to. Tian Chanzi said. Tang Zheng was flabbergasted. He stared at the floor in a daze. There's a dragon below? The legendary divine dragon? Jiji. Xiaobai jumped back and slanted its little mouth disapprovingly. It seemed to be protesting Tian Chanzi's words. Tian Chanzi seemed to understand and said, looking at its disapproving appearance, it doesn't seem to care much about dragons. I'm really curious about its origins. Hey, let's not talk about Xiaobai first. You said there's really a dragon beneath our feet? Of course, I don't know what method the emperor used to capture this dragon, but he built this imperial city to imprison this dragon. He used this imperial city to form a huge array to imprison the dragon. That's not right. Didn't the emperors of ancient times call themselves the true dragon son of heaven? If they saw a dragon, wouldn't they worship it? How could they imprison it? Tang Zheng was confused. This information was too much. Haha, true dragon son of heaven? That's just nonsense to deceive children. However, the emperor imprisoned the dragon for a reason. That was to absorb the dragon qi. This way he could prolong his life. That emperor sat on the dragon throne all day long and would continuously absorb the dragon qi. This is more effective than any other elixir. Tian Chanzi said. Moreover, as the emperor of a country, his power is the greatest. There's nothing or anyone that can stop him. Don't you think that imprisoning a dragon would give him a sense of accomplishment? This is simply an emperor throughout the ages. Other emperors simply can't do it. Tang Zheng was really speechless. After a long time he said, even if we have a dragon beneath our feet, what does that have to do with looking for cultivators? This dragon has been here for hundreds of years. I believe that it can answer why cultivators have disappeared. Tian Chanzi said solemnly. Then let's hurry up and find it. Do you want us to pry open the floor? Tang Zheng asked. Tian Chanzi curled his lips and said with disdain, if prying open the floor was useful, others would have already discovered this dragon. I really don't have anything in common with you. Tang Zheng was despised. He scratched his head in embarrassment. This imperial city is a huge array. Of course we have to find the key point of this array. Only then can we see the dragon. Then hurry up and find it. Don't waste time. Otherwise, when the sun rises and the tourists come, you won't have a chance. Get out of the way, brat. Don't get in the way. Heaven monks started to wander around the palace, and a mysterious power gradually spread out. Little White cried out in surprise, and opened its round eyes wide. Open! Suddenly, Tian Chanzi shouted. A beam of light soared into the sky and wrapped around them. Tang Zheng was in a trance. The scene in front of his eyes suddenly changed. Hey, where are we? Tang Zheng looked at everything in front of him curiously. This was a tunnel with stone walls on both sides. We have arrived at the underground of the palace. Tian Chanzi explained from the side. This was a transfer array. It brought them from the palace to the underground. Is the dragon here? Of course. Follow me. Let me tell you, the dragon is not like other monsters. Your ability is not enough. Be careful not to be eaten by it. Hee, with you here, how can I be eaten? Jiji. Xiaobai cried out and waved its claws. It seemed to say, don't be afraid, I will protect you. Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This tunnel was very long. Gradually, An invisible pressure appeared spontaneously. It was so oppressive that it made it difficult for them to breathe. Tang Zheng hurriedly circulated his energy to dissolve this pressure. If an ordinary person was here, they would have been pressed to the ground by this pressure, unable to move. What's going on? Tang Zheng asked curiously. Dragon aura. The emperor will have this kind of majesty when he absorbs the dragon aura. Tian Chanzi explained, the stronger the dragon aura, the more the subjects will naturally submit. Finally, they reached the end of the tunnel. The scene suddenly opened up. This was a domed hall. The dome was inlaid with fist-sized luminous pearls, so the hall was as bright as day. However, the luminous pearls were not enough to attract Tang Zheng. At this moment, he was dumbfounded as he looked at the huge monster in the center of the hall. A dragon. This really was a dragon. Its whole body was covered in golden scales. It was not much different from the legendary dragon. It was lying on the ground, and its huge body occupied more than half of the hall. It closed its eyes as if it was sleeping. When Tang Zheng and the others finally walked into the hall, its eyes suddenly opened, revealing eyes that were as big as basketballs. Golden light flickered, and an indescribable dragon might covered the sky and covered the earth. Tang Zheng subconsciously retreated half a step before stabilizing his body. This was the power of a dragon. Tang Zheng felt as if he had been hit by a heavy blow with just a glance. Tang Zheng took a deep breath to suppress the shock in his heart. Tian Chanzi also couldn't hide his shock. He muttered to himself, I finally see a dragon. Heh, it's a 5-clawed golden dragon. Tian Chanzi was not afraid. Instead, he was very excited because the answer was about to be revealed. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and the dragon gradually stood upright, looking down at them with an unparalleled might. Don't worry, there is a formation to suppress it. It can't threaten us, Tian Chanzi said quickly. Sure enough, there was a crisp sound of ding-dang. The dragon's 5 claws were covered with dark chains. When it raised its body, ding-dang sounds could be heard. Squeak! Xiaobai suddenly jumped out of Tang Zheng's arms. Xiaobai, don't go! Tang Zheng was shocked. He hurriedly wanted to hold Xiaobai, but was stopped by Tian Chanzi. Aren't you afraid of death? If you go near it you will die. Although it is suppressed by the formation now, it is more than enough to deal with you. But what about Xiaobai? I can't let anything happen to it. Xiaobai, come back quickly. Tang Zheng couldn't break free from Tian Chanzi's hands, so he anxiously tried to persuade him. Xiaobai didn't seem to hear him at all. With a whoosh, it rushed to the front of the golden dragon. In front of this behemoth, it was like an insignificant, almost negligible little thing. Little White stood in front of the golden dragon and raised its head high. It stared at the golden dragon without blinking. It pouted its mouth as if it was about to spit fire, and its mouth made a squeaking sound. Spitting fire at the golden dragon, did it want to roast it and eat it? Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This little troublemaker. Tian Chanzi, don't pull me, I'm going to save it. Xiaobai had saved Tang Zheng several times. Tang Zheng couldn't just watch it become a meal on the golden dragon's plate. This guy had been locked up for hundreds of years. He was afraid that it was going crazy from hunger. Xiaobai was not enough to fill the gaps between its teeth. Tang Zheng used his power and broke free from Tian Chanzi. He jumped and threw himself at Xiaobai, shouting, Xiaobai, come back quickly. Little White, however, turned a deaf ear to it and continued to stare at the golden dragon. The golden dragon also stared at the little fellow. Their eyes met. Suddenly, the golden dragon moved, a strong gale blew, the golden dragon bent its body, and Tang Zheng was blown to the point of tilting left and right by the gale. Whoosh! Chapter 307. Seeing this, Tang Zheng shouted, No! However, he was unable to stand steadily because of the strong wind. He had no choice but to help Xiaobai. Xiaobai did not retreat at all. Instead, he stood up straight and stared straight at the golden dragon. Roar! With a dragon's roar, Xiaobai's hair danced in the wind. However, Xiaobai still did not retreat. He also made a squeaking sound, as if he was responding to the golden dragon. The dragon's head finally stopped in front of Xiaobai. The dragon's whiskers were almost touching Xiaobai. Xiao Bai stretched out his claws and stroked the dragon's whiskers. Seeing this, Tang Zheng's heart trembled. This little guy is too bold. However, why didn't the golden dragon eat Xiao Bai in one bite? What are you? Suddenly, the golden dragon spoke. Ah, it can speak. Tang Zheng was shocked, but he immediately remembered that the golden dragon was a very powerful demon. It was not strange that it could speak. Squeak, squeak. Xiao Bai made a sound as if he was answering the golden dragon's question. However, the golden dragon's eyes were filled with doubt. You can't speak. Obviously, the golden dragon did not understand Xiao Bai's answer. Seeing this, Tang Zheng's heart almost jumped out of his throat. However, he quietly calmed down. Who are you? The golden dragon turned to Tang Zheng and asked. Whoosh! The strong wind disappeared. Tang Zheng landed steadily on the ground. It was a close call but not dangerous. We have a question for you. Tian Chanzi walked up and asked in a deep voice. Oh, a question? Haha, interesting. I see humans again after hundreds of years, but they are here to ask me questions. The golden dragon laughed, but there was a hint of vicissitudes in its voice. Human, I was imprisoned by you back then. Do you think I will still answer your questions? The golden dragon's voice paused. There was a hint of anger in it as it asked. You have been locked up here for hundreds of years, and no one has come to see you. Today, we are here to see you. Don't you think you should thank us? Tian Chanzi said. Haha, thank you. I can't wait to eat you all, the golden dragon said in disgust. Creak, creak. Xiao Bai jumped up and down, as if saying that it was not allowed to eat people. The golden dragon looked at Xiao Bai suspiciously and asked, What exactly is this little thing? Tang Zheng asked in surprise. Don't you know where it came from? After all, the golden dragon was from the Yao clan. Even he did not know about Xiao Bai's origins. Just how mysterious was this little guy's origin? The golden dragon said in surprise. You don't know yourself? We still want to consult you. The golden dragon stared at Tang Zheng with its large eyes, confirming that he was not lying, and said, Strange, this little guy is clearly from the Yao clan, but I can't see through its origins. However, the aura on its body is very special. It actually has the aura of the Great Desolate Era, and is not afraid of my dragon's might. The aura of the Great Desolate Era. Tang Zheng's head moved, and he quickly asked, Do you know about the prehistoric heavenly tomb? Prehistoric heavenly tomb? You found the prehistoric heavenly tomb? The golden dragon shook its body, and the black chains ding-dang rang out. Where is the prehistoric heavenly tomb? Hearing that the other party knew about the prehistoric heavenly tomb, both Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi were shocked. Even Tian Chanzi did not know the origins of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. He never thought that this golden dragon would actually know. Tell me what the prehistoric heavenly tomb is first. Tang Zheng stabilized his mind and asked without batting an eyelid. You actually dare to bargain with the noble dragon race? The golden dragon flew into a rage, as if it was about to flip out. This is called an exchange of information. It's very fair. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Tang Zheng said coldly. Tian Chanzi also admired Tang Zheng's attitude. This golden dragon seemed to be a little difficult to deal with. You've been locked up here for hundreds of years, but you still haven't changed your temper. Tell us, what kind of place is the prehistoric heavenly tomb? Tian Chanzi's expression was also somewhat stern. The golden dragon did not appreciate it at all, and said arrogantly, You want to get information from me, dream on. I won't tell you, despicable humans. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi looked at each other, feeling a little helpless. Originally, they wanted to ask about the disappearance of the cultivators, but it seemed like there was no hope. This golden dragon's mouth was really hard. Tang Zheng had an idea. His eyes lit up and said loudly, You made yourself sound so high and mighty, but you were still imprisoned here for a few hundred years. Don't flatter yourself. You dare to insult me? I'm going to eat you. The golden dragon flew into a rage, and was about to flip out again, but Xiao Bai suddenly jumped onto Tang Zheng's shoulder, and stared at it like a tiger eyeing its prey. The golden dragon paused and looked at Xiao Bai fearfully. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi heaved a sigh of relief. Obviously, this golden dragon was extremely afraid of Xiao Bai, so their safety was guaranteed. Tian Chanzi sighed in annoyance. Seeing that he was about to get close to the truth, He did not expect this stupid dragon to not cooperate. Seeing that the two of them were at their wits' end, the golden dragon raised its head high, feeling very pleased with itself. Let's go. No one will know about it for another few hundred years until it dies of old age here. Tang Zhang rolled his eyes, a plan came to his mind, and he turned to leave. Kid we. Tian Chanzi wanted to dissuade him, but when he saw Tang Zhang giving him a meaningful glance, he understood and said, "Yes, let this stupid dragon die here." The two of them turned around and left, completely ignoring the golden dragon's astonishment. It opened its eyes wide in disbelief and roared, "How can you leave just like that? You're not allowed to leave." But how could it stop someone else? Seeing that the other party was about to enter the tunnel, the golden dragon compromised and immediately shouted, "Don't go, I'll tell you." Tang Zhang and Tian Chanzi looked at each other. This was indeed a stupid dragon. A little bit of provocation was enough to pry open its mouth. Seeing the two of them stop in their tracks, the golden dragon hurriedly said, "Prehistoric heavenly tomb is a tomb after the Great War in the ancient era. There are countless legendary great figures buried inside, but this tomb is extremely mystical. It is said that there are many divine arts and secret manuals buried in this prehistoric heavenly tomb, as well as divine weapons. These were all the belongings of the great figures back then, and were buried here with them. Outsiders did not know where the prehistoric heavenly tomb was, and after that, countless people went to search for it, but many of them returned empty-handed. However, there were also people who successfully returned from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and all of them became great figures who ruled over a region. However, these people who returned were also secretive about where the prehistoric heavenly tomb was." Tang Zhang and Tian Chanzi both revealed expressions of joy at the same time. In that case, the prehistoric heavenly tomb was a huge treasure trove. Tang Zhang never thought that he would accidentally discover a treasure trove that no one else would be able to discover. But speaking of which, the prehistoric heavenly tomb was not that hard to find. Even Li Xiaotian and that group of Japanese were able to find it. Could it be that there was something fishy about it? "I've told you everything I know," the golden dragon said resentfully. Humans were cunning. They actually forced him to obediently submit. "Then do you know why the cultivators of this world disappeared?" Tian Chanzi asked again. The golden dragon's eyes lit up and laughed. "Actually, you guys wanted to ask this question from the beginning. It seemed like it wasn't that stupid. Yes, you've been locked up here for hundreds of years, you must know, right?" Tian Chanzi said excitedly. The golden dragon raised its head and said arrogantly, "Of course I know. I've been curious since you came in. Isn't there no cultivator in this world anymore? Where did you two come from? Hurry up and speak, stop dawdling. If you want to know the answer, you have to agree to one of my conditions." The golden dragon said resolutely. The two of them did not expect the golden dragon to actually raise a condition. Tian Chanzi asked in a deep voice, "What condition?" "Let me out, I don't want to continue being locked up here." The golden dragon said angrily. "The formation that imprisoned you is very powerful. I have no way to completely break the formation." Tian Chanzi said. "You must have a way. This formation is called the inescapable snare tactical method. With this imperial city as the foundation, as long as you destroy the entire imperial city, I can regain my freedom." The golden dragon said crazily. "Destroy the entire imperial city?" Tang Zhang was flabbergasted. Was there a mistake? This was the center of the country. Destroying the entire imperial city was simply a matter that would shock the world. Not to mention that Tang Zhang did not have the ability to do so now. Even if he did, he would definitely be treated as the public enemy of this country. He did not want to walk down this path. How is it? It's simple, right? With your cultivation, it won't be too difficult to destroy this imperial city. The golden dragon said excitedly. Heaven Monk was a little moved. He was originally a person from the cultivation world, and was incompatible with this world. It was just destroying an imperial city, so what was the big deal? Tang Zhang guessed his thoughts and quickly advised, "Tian Chanzi, don't listen to its instigation. If we do this, then there will be no place for you and me in this world." Tian Chanzi said disapprovingly, "As long as we know the secret of the disappearance of the cultivators, this is nothing." Tang Zhang argued, No matter what you say, I will not agree." Seeing Tang Zhang so determined, Tian Chanzi curled his lips and said, "You are now a cultivator. What are you afraid of?" "It is true that I am a cultivator, but the people around me, my family and friends, are not cultivators. If I really do this, then even if the entire country investigates this matter, I am afraid that I will not be able to stay out of it. At that time I will implicate these people," Tang Zhang said with a resolute expression. "If you don't agree, then don't think about knowing this secret." "Humph, I see that you are locked up underground. You may not know this secret," Tang Zhang said in disbelief. The Golden Dragon anxiously refuted. "Nonsense, how could I not know? Every once in a while, my primordial spirit will leave my body and go to the outside world to take a look. Although I can't do anything, I know what is happening in the outside world." Tang Zheng's heart moved. So there was such a thing. Seeing Tian Chanzi gently nod, Tang Zheng knew that this dragon was not lying. He was afraid that he really knew the secret of the disappearance of the cultivators. Looking at the two people's faces, the Golden Dragon proudly said, "Now you know how powerful I am. If you want to know the secret, you must destroy the Imperial City and let me out. Otherwise, don't think about getting this secret from me." Chapter 308. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi stared at each other. This dragon was not so easy to fool. Its attitude towards this matter was so firm that there was no room for negotiation. What should they do? Could it be that they should give up halfway? Boy, it's just an imperial city. It's not a big deal. Besides, it has no practical use now, Tian Chanzi advised. Tang Zheng waved his hand. "Don't say any more. No. You're still so stubborn. I really don't know what to do with you." Tian Chanzi helplessly rolled his eyes. Tang Zheng stared straight at the Golden Dragon and said, "I've already told you clearly that it's impossible to destroy the Imperial City. Do you have any other way to break the inescapable snare formation?" "Other ways? Humph, unless your cultivation level reaches the Huashan stage, there's no way to quietly break the inescapable snare formation," the Golden Dragon solemnly vowed. It was a little surprised by this human's persistence and determination. Huashan stage. Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi were quite surprised that such a high cultivation level was required. Tian Chanzi whispered, "Boy, then it's impossible for us to break the formation in a short time." Tang Zheng certainly knew that Tian Chanzi was also in the gold core stage. There was still a yuanying stage between the Huashan stage and the Huashan stage, so 3 plus or minus 3 couldn't meet the requirements at all. "But we have to know this secret today. This matter is of great importance." Tang Zheng nodded to show that he understood. "I can promise you one thing. If you tell us this secret, I'll definitely get you out. If you don't tell us, then you'll be locked up here until you die." "Humph, if you don't get me out, I won't tell you. I said I'll get you out, so I'll definitely save you. At most, you'll be locked up for a few more years, or more than 10 years. Otherwise, you'll die of old age here. Don't you know how to settle this account?" Tang Zheng angrily asked. "A few years, more than 10 years? Haha, you think too highly of yourself. You're only at the 4th grade of the foundation establishment stage. You're dreaming if you think you can reach the soul formation stage so quickly," the Golden Dragon said disdainfully. "Even if I can't achieve it, can't he? Humph, don't think I don't know that the spiritual chi of heaven and earth outside is so thin that it can't be compared to the past at all. Even if he wants to reach the divine transformation realm in 10 years, you can ask him yourself if it's possible." Tang Zheng looked at Tian Chanzi in surprise. "Aren't you already at the gold core stage? Wasn't she only one yuanying stage away from the soul formation stage? Why can't it be done?" Heaven Monk laughed bitterly. "Brat, don't use your own abnormal cultivation method on others. The further you go, the harder it is to cultivate. It is possible that you will not be able to break through even after spending more than 10 years. Tang Zheng was speechless. It turned out that he had been too optimistic. "How is it? Now you know I'm telling the truth, right? It's not that I'm looking down on you, but if you want to reach the divine transformation stage in such a short period of time, unless a miracle happens," the Golden Dragon said complacently. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth as his thoughts raced. In the end, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the Golden Dragon with determination. "I believe that I can do it. At most, in 20 years, I will definitely reach the divine transformation stage and save you. Tang Zheng was not being arrogant, but he was confident that his 9 yang holy body's cultivation speed was several times faster than others. Moreover, wasn't there still the prehistoric heavenly tomb? At most, he could just go inside and look for the secret manuals left behind by the great figures of the ancient era. The golden dragon clearly did not believe Tang Zheng's words and said, "Despicable human, you want to lie to me again? I won't fall for it." Tian Chanzi's heart stirred as he said, "He has the 9 yang holy body and is a cultivation genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. I can't do it, but maybe he can." 9 yang holy body? The golden dragon curiously looked at Tang Zheng. Humph, even the 9 yang holy body is useless. It's also impossible. In this world, the only ones who can do this are the legendary Celestials. Celestials. This was the first time Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi had heard of this term. What is a Celestial? A Celestial is a cultivation genius that appears once in 10,000 years. Furthermore, a Celestial carries a huge secret that is much more powerful than your 9 yang holy body. This is the first time I've heard of this term. It's really strange. Tian Chanzi muttered to himself. Of course you don't know. This is the secret of the dragon race. How could a normal person know? The golden dragon arrogantly said. If a celestial can do it, why can't I? Tang Zheng was unconvinced. Human, it's not that I'm looking down on you, but you really are impossible. Tang Zheng had a stomach full of anger. Were celestials this powerful? Creak, creak. Suddenly, Xiaobai cried out. He jumped off Tang Zheng's shoulder and pulled on Tang Zheng's pant leg, doing his utmost to pull him toward the golden dragon. Hey, Xiaobai, what are you doing? Xiaobai was very strong. Tang Zheng was dragged toward the golden dragon. Creak, creak. Xiaobai cried out, but he didn't stop. Instead, he put in even more effort. In the blink of an eye, he had pulled Tang Zheng under the golden dragon's huge body. Tang Zheng raised his head, and could feel the dragon might of this colossus even more directly. He actually had the urge to bow down and worship it. With Xiaobai's protection, Tang Zheng was confident that the golden dragon wouldn't dare to harm him. However, he was very curious as to what Xiaobai wanted to do. Xiaobai shouted and pointed at Tang Zheng. The golden dragon was puzzled, but it understood Xiaobai's meaning. Its dragon claw slowly reached for Tang Zheng's shoulder. Tian Chanzi turned pale with fright. He cried out in alarm, "Brat, be careful!" Xiaobai wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he used his eyes to encourage Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's head twitched. Xiaobai wouldn't harm him. He definitely had his reasons for doing this. Tian Chanzi, don't worry. I'll be fine. Tang Zheng took a deep breath and suppressed the urge to run away. He could only watch as the dragon claw landed on his shoulder. Whitey, on the other hand, opened its eyes wide in excitement. It jumped up and down and squeaked, looking very pleased with itself. Tian Chanzi's heart was about to jump out of his chest. Although he had lived for many years, this was the first time he had seen such a scene. He couldn't help but feel excited. Even thousands of years ago, dragons were very rare and aloof. Ordinary practitioners had no way to see a real dragon. In fact, this was also the first time Tian Chanzi had seen a real dragon. He was really shocked by the scene in front of him. Vaguely, there seemed to be some kind of indescribable expectation in his heart. He stared at Tang Zheng intently. Tang Zheng was also extremely nervous. To let the legendary dragon get so close to him, and even have physical contact with him, if it was anyone else, they would probably have the same thoughts as him. In the face of such a powerful dragon, he didn't sit down on the ground and show a timid expression. He took a deep breath and tried to appear calm. The golden dragon's eyes were originally filled with doubt. It didn't understand the deep meaning of Xiaobai's action. But when its claw landed on Tang Zheng's shoulder, its pupils quickly dilated. Its golden eyes bloomed with dazzling golden light. The entire hall turned into a golden ocean. Tang Zheng's face turned pale with fright. What was going on? Fortunately, his body didn't have any strange feeling. Otherwise, he would have definitely fought back. The doubt in the golden dragon's eyes was completely replaced by shock. It looked at Tang Zheng and cried out in fright. How is this possible? You are actually a celestial. What? I'm a Skywalker. Tang Zhang was also shocked, and even the heaven monk exclaimed, cursing loudly, F***CK. The golden dragon had already retracted its claw. It looked at Tang Zhang in disbelief. You actually have 9 main meridians and a pure yang body. You are a celestial. Tang Zhang suddenly realized that these 2 points were the characteristics of a celestial. He couldn't help but remember Tian Chanzi once said that he wasn't a human. It seems he was a celestial. A celestial was also a human. He finally didn't have to worry about whether he was a human or not. He felt very gratified. But this celestial was so powerful from the golden dragon's mouth. He was very excited because this meant that he could reach spirit severing stage in a short 10 years. Since you know I'm a celestial, then you can believe my words, right? Tang Zhang continued to press on. The golden dragon was still in shock. It muttered to itself, no wonder this mysterious little fellow was subdued by you. So it also knows that you are a celestial. Hearing this, Xiaobai excitedly jumped up and down. In the end, it directly jumped onto Tang Zhang's shoulder. Tang Zhang patted its little head and said, so you already knew that I am a celestial. Xiaobai pretended to be serious and nodded its head. But unlike the golden dragon, Xiaobai couldn't speak. So even if it knew this secret, it couldn't tell Tang Zhang. The golden dragon's eyes gradually regained its luster. It stared straight at Tang Zhang and said, I actually saw a celestial that only appears once every 10,000 years. Moreover, it is in this world where there are no practitioners at all. This is too miraculous. Although I have been imprisoned here for hundreds of years, but to be able to see a celestial, these hundreds of years were worth it. Tang Zhang blushed with shame. He didn't expect that he would have such great charm. It was like he was a celebrity, and this golden dragon was like a fan of his. But since he met a fan, then things would be much easier. So he coughed and said, since that is the case, then you can tell me the secret of the disappearance of practitioners. Of course. But I hope that you can come and see me when you are free. I have been imprisoned here for hundreds of years without anyone to talk to me. I am about to go crazy. The golden dragon said expectantly. Tang Zhang hesitated for a moment. In any case, he was going to stay in the capital for 4 years. If he was free, it would be good to come and see him. Moreover, this place was definitely a good place to train. With a golden dragon by his side, no one would be able to hurt him when he was training. Just thinking about this made him very excited. So he nodded his head without hesitation. The golden dragon also seemed to be very happy. It said, haha, wait a little longer, I can finally see the light of day again. Humph, those people who imprisoned me are already dead. Otherwise, I would have eaten all of them. Tang Zhang was speechless. This guy opened its mouth and said that it wanted to eat people. It really was a foodie. It seemed like he would have to teach it a lesson in the future to change this bad habit. Tian Chanzi didn't expect that things would take such a turn. He said excitedly, boy, quickly ask it to speak. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.